Hello, hello, everyone. Happy weekend. Be it Saturday, Sunday for you future people.
Yeah, happy weekend, Ember. Happy weekend.
Yay! It's still May. We can all agree on that, at least for
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
And it's still Dan Barker versus Matt Slick. We're here for part 2.
Yes.
Part 1 was
Mhm.
over on Mark's channel. The link for that's in the description.
Yeah, it's somewhere over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's somewhere over
that
there. Yeah.
away in the
Uh-huh.
interwebs. But it is linked. So if you haven't
Mhm.
seen it, make sure you go back and watch it. But you can do that after, hang out with us in the live chat because lives are
Cool.
more fun. Yeah.
Hmm.
So how are you doing today, Mark?
I'm good. I'm just tired. I just got up, a little bit tired, but I'm okay. I'm good. I feel like I want to watch the end of this thing and the rebuttals because Dan Barker was talking a very big game about his rebuttals. So yeah, I have no doubt he's gonna come through on it. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Big rebuttal energy. Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I like big rebuttals and I cannot lie.
That's right. That's right. So we have PC has dropped by and dropped our links and things. We appreciate the hell out of you, PC.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
as you
pragmatic.
may be noticing, chats are populating on screen now.
I
That's a
know.
new feature that StreamYard just turned on. It's in beta, but
Fancy.
it's there.
I've been using it. It seems to be working just fine. Like it seems to be going perfectly well. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
good.
pretty neat to see. It's another
Mhm.
plus. But yeah, hello Andrew. Thank you for joining us. Thank you other people who will be dropping by now or in the future. As always, if you would like to participate in our live chat, make sure you're not only subscribed but ring the notification bell so that YouTube tells you when we go live. Though for reference, Mark and I take
Mm.
turns. Every other week we're here. On the opposite week we're over on Mark's channel and we do this every week, so you shouldn't
Yes.
need the notification bell for that.
Mhm.
So yeah, hello Jedi, good to see ya. And let's see, um my brain is completely shot, folks, so just bear with me. We're doing our best over here. I don't Did you have any other announcements before we get started with things?
No, not really. Not really. I just, sort of, I just, what I thought of the first half, I think that
Yeah.
sort of Matt Slick is leaning so heavily on the transcendental argument that he might as well wheel it out as a Walker frame, quite frankly. Um, I didn't really hear very much from him, but it's interesting because he's sort of saying, well, I'm not going to be arguing any God, I'm going to be arguing my God. And then he proceeds to argue the most nebulous God term I've ever heard in my life. Like none of his stuff went to like what's specific to Christianity at all. So, I honestly don't think he meant it when he said it. That like, oh, I'm not going to be arguing for just any God, I'll be arguing for the Christian God. Proceeds to talk about a generic god for what was it, 10 minutes or something. I don't know, it's very strange, but he's leaning
Yeah.
on the whole idea of transcendentals kind of thing, so it is a pre-supper. Basically, this is sort of a non-starter. He's just making a massive assumption that these things have to come from a god, and we'll see the belligerence probably as we go along, but the rebuttal should be good. It's Jedi.
Absolutely. And you know what else is good? Left-handed Jedis. Left-handed, only the left-handed ones, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jedi. Jedi sends $10, which I very much appreciate because holy crap, so YouTube is hard.
Yeah.
I got a payment from Google this month, but it was a close thing, and it's been a while
Mm,
since. So I very much appreciate support.
mm.
Very, very much. And Jedi says to help support the channel, we got your back. And I appreciate the sentiment as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah, let's hit it, shall we? Let's do
Okay,
the
okay,
thing.
straight into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, let's do
All
it.
right.
Thank you, dear. Matt, you have 10 minutes for rebuttal.
Rebuttals.
Oh yeah, and Matt seems to be having some trouble speaking, and like he's just complaining all the way through about a cold or something, which kind of sucks. But
Oh yeah.
he's just basically, I don't know. He's harping on it a bit. All right, fair call. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I totally, absolutely out there, nothing to do with anything. But
Yeah.
I was very, very sick yesterday. I was in the hospital. I still have my IV thing, and
Oh, really? Wow.
it's
Okay, what
yeah,
happened?
it was pretty bad.
Oh,
It's complicated. To summarize, fuck tons of infections everywhere that aren't responding to antibiotics.
oh,
That's only
shit.
part of the issue, but it's a bit of an issue. The only
That is
reason I
an
mention
issue.
it, I wasn't going to bring it up at all, is because Matt Slick keeps whining about having a dry throat
Yeah.
through the whole thing, and I'm like, I wonder, I could just start complaining randomly. It just struck me that
Right.
the potential parallels, but not the contrasts. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, I had a bit of a cold yesterday. I sort of felt it coming on Thursday night, so I kind of chose something short for my show on Friday, and then I didn't feel too bad on Friday. But apparently, it was just the cold, like lulling me into a false sense of security before hitting me on Saturday, kind of thing. So thanks rhinovirus. Cheers. Thank you. That's awesome.
Sneaky viruses.
I know, right? But I mean, on Friday that was lots of fun. So yeah, I'm glad it gave me the time to do my show. Thank you, rhinovirus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it was
Yeah.
kind of being helpful.
Yeah,
Ish?
kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe more to do with my psychological state at the time or something, like I just pushed through it.
It's entirely possible. I find
Yeah.
no matter how I feel before I go live, as soon as we start doing the show, I feel better. And the more we engage with people, the more we do stuff, as points get, I feel better. Like, even when I'm in good shape, I feel better doing the shows than not. But when I'm in bad shape, I mean, I'm sure it's all adrenaline, but it helps. It makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. Look at the look on Matt's face. Like, it just, I don't know why. He's just got. You ever had a teacher in like high school that takes themselves so seriously and like they're wrong about crap a lot of the time? Like, but they do not hold with being laughed at or anything like that. They just, I don't know. He's giving me maths teacher who doesn't understand shit vibes. I don't know why.
Oh no. I've had a couple of those too, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Details.
Yeah,
his audio seems kind of borked.
His audio is borked.
I can hear the background static. This is the actual recording.
Yeah.
You
need to turn yourself on.
But nevertheless, I hope you heard me.
No, we didn't hear a damn thing you said, Matt. No. He's having one hell of a night, isn't he? Like, this is
Yeah.
It almost makes me feel sorry for the guy. Yeah.
It's relatable because we've all been there where we all do our openings,
sure.
and like 10 minutes in, we notice the live chat is like, you're muted.
And it's like, that was a great speech too. I bet that would have won the debate right there.
For sure.
Believing in God is rational because the alternative is irrational. You cannot have any problem of evil if you're an atheist, right? Think about it. What's evil? He wants me to define what.
Does Matt not understand what an internal critique is?
Yeah, and you cannot have a problem of evil if you're an atheist. Well, yeah, it's not our problem. We basically go, the universe sort of doesn't care about that kind of stuff, and just stuff happens without any oversight whatsoever. So there's no problem of evil because we can say, hey, the universe doesn't have concepts of good and evil. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the entire point of it is to show the inherent contradiction in the theology that
yes,
if you don't have, it's not even, you don't have a God. Like there's a bunch of other religions that don't have a problem of evil either because their gods are
Correct.
not all powerful or all benevolent or all
Mhm.
the things. In
Yeah.
fact, I was where was it? I was reading a paper. I can't remember where the fuck I came across it because again, my brain is made of pudding lately.
That's okay.
But
That's okay.
the general gist of it was that it's Christianity and these other super monotheisms that led to the inevitable rise of atheism. Because as long as humans were polytheistic, they had this belief that there are a shit ton of gods and you can just pick your favorite to worship. And if it didn't treat you well, you could just change gods. Then everything was hunky-dory, theologically speaking. It's when you start insisting there's only one God, he's your God, and it entails this and this and this, and then you don't see this and this and this. People go, I just don't believe you.
Because with the gods of like a lot of the strife, say in the Greek mythology kind of thing, was a lot of the gods like having arguments with each other. Like, oh well, that wasn't the all-powerful, all-good God that sent a wave to knock down my, and flood the land. That was Poseidon angry with, Ares because he did something wrong kind of thing. So you could basically say, hey, that, you could basically explain away these random things as just not even God angry at people, but angry at another God kind of thing. So we have this step of sort of animism where you're giving agency to natural events, which is what animism is, and then sort of ascribing it to a whole series of gods, and then you can sort of go, well, Poseidon's angry at Demeter, so they do this thing or whatever, like you have this mythology that arises. But if you're unfamiliar with it, just quickly for those who don't know, the problem of evil is basically saying that God is all powerful and all good, but these horrible things happen and suffering exists in large amounts all throughout the world. And that seems to be incongruent. It seems to be something that, punishing sort of babies getting malaria, like what is that all about? Like that is sort of shows that God cannot be all good because there is so much evil in the world, and that's sort of the argument. But it's a very compelling one and probably the strongest one that atheists have or anti-theists have against the Christian God, because he is supposed to be all powerful, all knowing, and all good. We have these cases where insanely bad stuff happens for no reason at all.
Yep. And once again, it's super effective against that kind of God and has no impact at all on Zeus, because he's definitely not all good, definitely not all powerful.
Well, some of the Calvinists just wear it and say, hey, God does evil stuff.
Yeah. Which is,
and it's just okay.
Yeah, it's like the only way to handle it, because it's evident that bad shit happens. So yeah.
What God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. God who has full of omnisapience, all wisdom, who has the quality of aseity, the independence and immutability of his nature and his essence. We describe something by the attributes that present. That's perfectly valid. He asked me to define that, but yet he uses free will and doesn't define what free will is. And he says, and I got the quote if you want it, we have the illusion of free will. As an atheist, you can't even have free will. Your worldview cannot make sense. This is the problem. It cannot make sense. Think about it.
Once again, atheism is not a worldview. It's a component of a diversity of worldviews. You can have free will under atheism. You cannot have free will under theism when you believe that God both creates everything and knows everything. Because if he created you knowing everything, then you don't actually make choices.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, like from what I can gather in my discussions of these types of people, that what we mean by worldview and what the rest of the world means by worldview and what they mean by worldview are kind of different, right? So when we look at worldview, it is the perspective on how you view the world around you, how you, um, you know, perceive the world around you, right? Like how you're looking at it. What they appear to be talking about is the most fundamental questions about the world and existence and all of these things. Like they go straight to the sort of, what's the meaning of our existence kind of thing. To me, that isn't really a worldview. To me, that is a sort of existential view. But they seem to think that is your worldview. And it's weird. It's really weird.
It kind of reminds me of the way creationists like to rebrand terms, although they'll go in the other direction as well. Like instead of saying upright fossils, they'll call them polystrata fossils because no one else says that, you know?
Yeah, that's just a term that they've got a lot of these terms that they make up that not necessarily this one's made up, but when people are talking about a worldview, they're really, talking about the way that you live your life, like if your worldview is to help poor people or to, you're usually your political religious beliefs, your all of these things. But when they sort of talk worldview, it's really weird what they're talking about, because they're talking about not how you're perceiving the world, but specifically what explanation you have for why you're here and what you're doing. It's very strange. It's really strange.
We love those novel interpretations.
Oh, they get hold of these words. Like it's like when the creationists use microevolution and macroevolution, those have specific terms within evolutionary theory, but they got hold of them and just changed the meaning of them. It's really wild.
It's almost like they hear a term and then make up their own meaning, sort of like they do with everything else.
Yeah. So instead of your perception on where the world came from and what the meaning of life is and all of that as being part of your worldview, they see that as your worldview, which is just wild. Like, I don't know. It's strange. It's really strange.
I mean, the whole thing is pretty strange. But
they're a weird bunch of people. Yeah, mostly they are very, very weird. Yes,
I know. You need to be a responsible adult by abrogating your own decision making to the magic dude in the sky that you've never seen, and you know what he decides by asking the fella in the white robe, who also claims to turn wine into blood and asks you to drink the blood every week. It's so weird.
Well, it's weird that Matt Slicker sort of go, well, think about it. There's no way they're thinking. And it's just like, you seem to be just saying that over and over. Like, I don't understand why. Like, he hasn't actually outlined why an atheist worldview makes no sense. Like, he hasn't actually explained that at all. He's just like, well, we've got a worldview that says this. So think about it. Theirs makes no sense. It's like, no, that doesn't. I've thought a lot about it, Matt. That please connect those dots for me.
And that's another thing that we've seen a bit. We're probably going to see more of, where instead of presenting his own case, he tries to poke holes in the other case and just assume victory.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so little understanding. This is why theists get so much shit, because it's not true of every theist, but it's true of a lot of the loudest theists, where they don't understand fucking anything, even how debates work. There's this idea that you present your idea and theirs as a dichotomy, and then you try to knock down theirs. You turn it into a straw man, knock it over, you won. But that's not how that works. You have to prove yours, not just rule out the other sides.
But they're not interested in doing that. Because they seem to know, and that's why you get arguments from divine hiddenness and stuff, that we can't, or non-overlapping magisteria of science and God, because they know they do not have anything for the God. So they can't present anything, because all of the stuff that they've presented has got shot down in very short order, because there's nothing that they have that would, sort of make the God existence more probable than the existence of magic or unicorns or any of these things that we talk about. So their only recourse is basically to go, well, I'm going to attack what you think.
Mhm. And I mean, that should be, I don't know. It's a bone of contention for me, the fact that they can't demonstrate their claims, so they resort to arguments, and their arguments get shut down. So they resort to probabilistic cases. Like the fact you have to go so far into the philosophical weeds just to not be completely ruled out pretty much answers your question right there. I don't know.
Pretty much, yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Is true and the physical laws of the universe are all they are, then your brain is restricted to those physical laws, and you are not able to prove you have free will thought. You can't prove that your rationalizations are correct because it's just a function of your brain. And it might be that your wiring says yes and his says no. Which is right or wrong? You have to appeal to something outside of you to do that, which is why I brought up the issue of the transcendentals that demonstrate the rationality of the position. Now,
that's not either rational or how rationality works.
No. And again, this is an argument appeal to consequence, right? It's basically him saying, well, I don't like the idea that there's no free will, so it can't be true. Whether it's true or not has nothing to do with what you like, Matt. It's got nothing to do with it, right? The idea of free will, I personally lean towards that we do have free will. We seem to. It seems to be one of those unfalsifiable things, again, that we can't really prove it either way. But at the same time, like, he's just sort of, not all atheists think that we don't have free will. Not all atheists are determinists. So he's just lumping everybody into one category. There is an ongoing discussion and argument over whether determinism or atheism holds true. So this is a straw man. It definitely is. It is sort of a, I don't know if, I mean, he seems to say that Dan Barker doesn't believe in free will, that he's a determinist. Okay. So why can't that be the case?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have any bearing on anything really,
Right.
but whatevs.
What means you are right and you are wrong? Well, even without free will, we will hold models and concepts within our mind that will either be accurate to reality or not accurate to reality. In that case, regardless of whether there's free will or not, one of those people will be more accurate in the mental model they have than the other one, regardless of how it came about. It's like saying, hey, well, a computer doesn't have free will. Two people program a computer to come up with a floor plan, all right? And one of them's going to be more accurate than the other to what the reality of that room is. So, the actual room. So it doesn't matter that there's no free will. Someone can still be right and someone can still be wrong. If he's talking about morals, right, what we ought to do, which I think he is, I'm not 100% sure. But then that becomes real simple. Like, this is the thing. They think that, without free will, there can't be morals. And I've thought a lot about this. Yeah, there can be, because a computer doesn't have free will. But there's certainly the way a computer ought to process things, like when it's working correctly as opposed to incorrectly. So for a product of evolutionary process and all of these things creating a meat computer, if you will, then there should be some way that ought to be working and some way it ought not to be working. Now, I'm not a determinist myself. I think we do have free will, but I'm a compatibilist. But, there's no problem with morals under a determinist pathway. In fact, it kind of becomes easier, because then you can say that, hey, there's an optimal way that the meat computer functions. And that's how it ought to function.
I really, really love how you say that.
Look, I mean, that's basically, like, I get that they do a straw man of, oh, it's all just bubbles in the brain, or that, what do they call, fizzes in the brain or whatever, of chemicals kind of thing. Well, it's a lot more complicated than that. But yeah, it's an organic processor is your brain. Yeah, okay. I will lean into that straw man a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
so a compatibilist sort of says that so we know most things in the universe are determined, Karen. We sort of have the idea that, you know, when we, like, the laws of physics is determined, you know, when you roll something in a certain way and it has certain things, it is determined where it will go because of the laws of nature. Compatibilist says that that determinism is compatible with humans having free will, that we can decide, even though the universe is mostly deterministic in nature. So it mostly is predictable and follows a set laws. And it does also matter what you mean by free will as well. There's a lot around that. But I'm just saying that even if you are a determinist, it doesn't invalidate morals either. So I think he's completely wrong. He's kind of just leaning on, oh, well, if you've got, you know, if all that we are is just these sort of automated signals and chemicals and things like that, then you know, you can't have morals, you can't have these things. No, that's completely untrue. Sorry, it just is. We don't know what's true and false. Completely untrue. Sorry.
Now, if you're going to follow the rigid, regimented rules of an absentee landlord creator, then you can't have morals, because you're not making ought decisions. You're just following orders, regardless of how horrific they may be.
Right. Well, it depends where that comes from. Right. So a lot of it depends on where you're getting it from. If it's just what the God says, well, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. If there's something else that you know, a omnipotent or an omniscient, right, God knows about, like, it knows that these morals are good or bad and it's relaying them to us, that might not be the case. But then where the hell are they coming from?
More magic.
Yeah.
We loves the magic.
He didn't address the issue of the transcendentals, and I'm waiting for him. I've talked to a lot of atheists about the transcendentals, and I'll tell you something. This is a little bit subjective, but I have never found any convincing answer from an atheist perspective to give me any rational account for what's called the necessary preconditions for intelligibility. Atheists inevitably commit.
The atheists don't have an answer for this bullshit scenario that theists made up.
The necessary preconditions for intelligibility. What are the necessary preconditions for intelligibility?
This is one of those ones that varies from philosophy bro to philosophy bro.
Right.
I heard a Catholic make the argument a ways back. That guy from Shameless Popery. He was like, because we're able to understand the universe, that means the universe was put together not only in an understandable way, but in a consistent way, which means that God must be active in reality, all the little Jesus particles keeping all the electrons in their orbits, in order to be intelligible. The fact there are no miracles is itself the greatest miracle, but I'm sure Matt has his own version, and hopefully he'll tell us.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. You know, so intelligibility seems to be the capacity. To me, that says the capacity for the universe to be understandable. So you know, and we have problems with that, right? We thought we know at the atomic level how the universe worked, and went, oh, that's it. Physics is almost solved. It's almost done. We know all there is to know. Not true. You know, so maybe so when you're talking about intelligibility, maybe there is, like, the Gödel's incompleteness project, that we can never know everything about the universe. So what does that say to intelligibility? Well, there's a problem there, right? Maybe we will never know. But in the meantime, we can certainly learn things about our universe and implement them in order to make our lives better. But so I think he means something different. I think he's talking about the laws of logic kind of thing. I am so confused about what he means.
We shall see. Perhaps. I mean, he may just wave at it and move on to another point.
But
Either way.
how is this a rebuttal? Just something occurred to me. This isn't a rebuttal. This is more introduction. Like he's just using it as a second part of his introduction, because he's basically saying, like, because he didn't address Dan Barker saying, hey, this is the problems with Christianity that I had, problem of evil, problem of all of the, like, he's not addressing that at all.
Yeah, that's like I said, they don't know. A lot of them don't know how to debate. They're just, I'm
Right.
just going to talk more. Maybe I'll preach at you. I mean, how many theists have we seen doing these debate reviews where their rebuttal consists of breaking out John 3:16 or something?
Right. Yeah, and you can always tell when a theist debater is in trouble, they will start preaching. It's sort of like it's almost like a Pavlovian response for things going badly. You know, they just have to, you know the preaching voice that you get. Next you're going to say his conjecture is not an argument. How dare I? How dare I? Good point, Victoria. I should have mentioned that one first. I thought that was obvious. I didn't think I needed to say that, but you know, obviously maybe I do. Maybe I do. Okay, so if there's any theists out there, conjecture is not, you know, what baseless assertion is not an argument. Okay, that is.
You just, so earlier today, Matt Dillahunty did a debate on his own channel. Arden moderated. It was pretty fun to watch. But that's the whole debate right there. Is conjecture is not an argument.
Actually,
Done.
I saw it. Yeah. You know, you can assert stuff all you want unless you're actually demonstrating it. It's just an assertion. We don't have to accept it, especially with presuppositionalists, because that presupposition, these transcendentals come from God. It's just exactly that. It's just an assumption. Like, you don't have to accept it. You can go, well, I reject it. What now? But it was interesting. I saw Matt having a conversation on, I think it was Jackson Wheat's channel. Was it Jackson Wheat or Jackson Rowe? I can't remember which
Jackson
it was.
Wheat. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
because
Jackson
I haven't
Wheat
had
channel.
time, but I saw the listing for it. Yeah.
It was interesting. He was sort of talking about, you know, atheism and the movement of atheism having these, you know, incredibly awful people in it, like, you know, Sargon of Akkad and, you know, all of these horrible people. And, you know, like, I don't know. I guess I came away from that. It was an interesting conversation, and I came away thinking we've got to make secular humanism much more of a central theme of what we're doing rather than just atheism. And I do agree with it. Says the man with atheism in his channel name. You know, it's just
Details.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
thing. Like, I started doing the whole atheism thing and thinking, I mean, obviously, if you don't believe in an immoral God, you do believe in in a moral humanity. It should go without saying. And I was very quickly disillusioned of that naive notion. The humanism has to be insisted upon, but it's a thing you learn as you do the thing.
Right. Because as you're assigned your worldview as atheism, like, my worldview is humanism, not atheism, but that means something completely different to them.
And but one thing that we can take as a universal truth. I don't know. I'm trying for my segues here.
Oh, that's segue.
Sends a super chat for 222. Thank you so much, Journey. And says, hail, Ember, Mark, and Matt Oil Slick spitting out.
Thank you, Unfinished Journey. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, he's borderline crashing out now. He's getting kind of worked up over, I'm not sure what exactly, but
he's getting worked up over a rebuttal of an argument that Dan Barker didn't make.
And I'm sure Dad won't notice that at all.
No, he'd be oblivious to it.
Yeah.
His arguments were more of the, hey, I realize this is nonsense and the problem of evil and all of these, you know, really tried and true evidentiary arguments. that we don't see the evidence for it, and we should see the evidence if you have this. So, and that's something that really gets me. Like, this is Matt Slick, who claims to have a direct line to the master, the immortal, all-powerful master of the universe, and they know less than the average person out there. It's wild, you know, like, you can make that claim.
I was just saying, I'm working on tomorrow's show. I'm doing a lead-in show before Bad Science Sunday because I'm on Bad Science Sunday,
yeah.
for
Oh,
a change.
nice, awesome. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And so tomorrow's show is fascism in the Bible, and I'm like, you know, putting together my examples and my general format and getting all the things ready.
Yeah.
And I'm like, one of the things that kept jumping out at me, I didn't include it because it's not about fascism in the Bible, but this whole concept of God knows everything and tells the people directly through revelation, and yet, you know, pi equals 3 and sperm comes from the backbone, and all the things that either are not mentioned, like DNA or quasars, but the things that are wrong. And yet the people just believe it. They're like, oh no, this is infallible. This is proof.
Yeah,
of it
sperm
all
from the
knowing
backbone's
creator.
the Quran. That's the Quran that says that. The Bible doesn't actually say that. But the
Detail.
Bible does have the way genetics work is that you put sticks in front of sheep, which is hilarious. That is my best evidence that the Bible is not scientific. That they think that you get striped sheep, not by crossbreeding sheep. No. You peel bark off sticks so they're striped. Put it in front of the breeding sheep, and then the sheep will come out striped. That is the most hilarious thing I've heard in any holy book ever.
Well,
It's
I mean,
hilarious.
it's true. It's universally true. Like, you know, when humans reproduce, the babies always come out looking like whatever you were staring at during the act.
Right.
You know, it's demonstrable. Yeah.
Demonstrable. Yeah. Well, you know, no, I'm not going to make that joke. That is way too crass.
It's
handbrake turn. No. I was going to say, like, what if you're not facing the person and rather, like, never mind. Okay, I'm not going there. Okay, I'm just saying.
That would explain a lot about certain. Never mind.
Yeah.
Logical fallacies in the process, and they must.
What's that?
Insert your own dodgy joke here, okay, about not looking like the father. Just okay, go for it.
Because their atheism hamstrings their ability to think rationally. Sometimes on my radio show, and I'm not feeling too well, I say, excuse me, I'm really tired. I got one frontal lobe tied behind my back. Okay, atheist, give me a call. Now, I try to be entertaining on the radio, and I want atheists to call me up, but I love talking to atheists because I'll tell you something. Atheism is not logical. It's irrational. If your brain is the function of the physical...
Is he just flexing at this point? Oh, like, I'm not feeling really well, and atheists still call them up and I still kick their ass. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. No. I look. An even better one was my mum bent over the billiard table or something like that. That would have been hilarious. I'll pay that. I will pay that. I'm right there with you.
In fairness, we did kind of ask for that.
100%.
We know our community, and we put it out there.
I did say insert your own dodgy joke here. Wim Sweden, thank you. Thank you.
The laws tell me how you have free will. Tell me how you are able to justify it intellectually, that you are free outside of the parameters of the physical laws that govern what happens up here. And you want to tell me that you can think rationally? Justify the reason why you can in the first place. Justify to me the problem of theodicy, the problem of evil. There's no problem of evil in Christianity. God uses it, just as he used the death of my son who died in my arms, and I literally heard his last heartbeat.
That feels a lot like an appeal to emotion.
Oh yeah. And plus, like, if God uses that to do good, because omnibenevolence, you have to do good, then at the end of the day, your son dying was a good act because God did it. And I don't think that anybody believes that. I don't think we go, oh, well, all of those kids dying of malaria because they're too impoverished to afford, the treatment for it. I don't think we're going to go, well, God uses that for good, so it's a good thing. You can't have so when we're talking about whether something is good or bad, it's really after all entailments have been assessed, basically. It's not like at the time. You can say, hey, I got into an accident, but it turned out to be a good thing because, I got a payout, or, something happened and then I met this person. So, you can see it as good. Or I go to the gym. Yeah, I suffer, but you can say, hey, I get ripped because of it. That's a good thing, right? So you can't say, hey, I go to the gym. It's bad at the time, so therefore it's a bad thing. No, we look at after all the outcomes have been analyzed. So if he's saying that, hey, God killed my son, right? My son died due to God, but it turned out to be for the best, then he's saying it's a good thing. And I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, at best, it's a heaping mountain of cope.
Yes.
All the justification he can find.
But we've got to be really sensitive with this because obviously, someone losing a child, I think, is horrific. But then you end up like William Lane Craig saying, oh, well, all of the children died in the flood. It was a good thing.
Yeah, all the Canaanite children, the babies dashed upon the rocks, all that. It's all good.
Right.
It's a wonderful thing. We should be so
Right.
thankful we have such a loving God who commands such wonderful things.
Right. And I will give it this to William Lane Craig. At least he leaned into the necessary entailment of God deciding to do this. It has to be good. Because if at the end of the day that, the world was made better by it because God knows all of the outcomes that we can't see, then it has to be good. And William Lane Craig lent into it. But from, a secular or atheist point of view, it's frigging horrific. It's absolutely horrific. That the Canaanites slaughtered these tribes that weren't very different from their own and killed everybody and the animals sometimes, and took loot and plunder. That's horrific. The problem of evil is somehow having to say that was good.
Yeah, and you can just declare it's not a problem, but I don't feel good about this emotional manipulation he's going for. But we'll see.
Yeah, so he's appealing to transcendentals, and for these people, not like if you don't understand what transcendentals are, don't worry, that's completely understandable. Transcendentals are kind of stupid. They're basically saying, hey, there's some things that we hold as concepts that also seem to be real, like math, for instance, right? We know that math is a language that we made up, but it seems to have a physical element to it because we can demonstrate it physically, right? So it seems to be this thing that transcends the physical or transcends the conceptual, essentially. He's using transcendentals as meaning that, hey, we've got these things that are conceptual or physical, but they seem to be in a spiritual realm kind of thing. And we can explain transcendentals fairly easily, that they are languages that we've made up to explain the world, which isn't, it's just a model that we're using.
Mm-hmm.
So the laws of logic aren't sort of this it's like Newton's laws of gravity aren't the most accurate kind of thing, right? It's not the most accurate. Einstein's are much better, but we're using these laws in order to understand the world, and they're useful. They are very, very useful in how to think, but I don't think that they are these hard laws that are exactly precise kind of thing. I think they're just ways that we understand it. So we can explain it very, very easily as, the laws of logic are models about how the universe works. I mean, the properties of the universe are real, but the way that we describe them is inaccurate because language is inaccurate. Our entire way we describe things is inaccurate, and there's some problems around that. But these transcendentals, they basically say, well, you can't explain where they come from, therefore they come from God. No, you don't get to do that. That's basically making an appeal to my, even if I didn't know where they came from, it doesn't mean they come from a God. You've got to demonstrate that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget that. That's just a baseless claim. It's just a claim.
And claims, famously, are not evidence.
Right.
Literally heard his last heartbeat. I wept that day hard. Did I say God doesn't exist because my child died? He don't exist. My God, my child is. Come on, think. Use your heads and don't put your emotions in front of the issues and use emotional arguments. No disrespect meant, Dan, but you're using emotional arguments.
Wow.
Don't use emotional arguments. Did I weep that same day and say God doesn't exist? Did you ask why God ceased your child to live? Is there an answer there somewhere? Was it for the greater good, Matt? Because I don't believe it was. I think the universe just doesn't care.
It's
Really?
It's so unreal to see a man talk about the death of his child, use it as a prop to belittle people who feel emotion about the death of their own children. Holy
or any
shit.
children. Yeah. I seem more upset about his child dying than he does. That's a real worry.
It's fucking crazy. Hey, Pragmatic's back.
Yeah. Pragmatic.
We were appreciating you earlier at the start of the stream, and I'm appreciating you again now. We need like a jingle for Pragmatic. Like when PC shows up, we can just play. I don't know. So somebody get on that.
We could AI something, I guess, Sociopathic. I don't know if I'd go that far, Wimswin. I don't know, but it just seems to maybe this is a coping mechanism for him that he has to say, well, my child died and there seemed to be no reason at all, but God was doing something that will have some good effect at the end of the day. I've seen this before in theists who are confronted by the suffering that seems to be consistent in the universe that we all suffer, just go, well, no, it's not that bad because God will have something later on. Maybe it does make them feel better. Maybe it is coping, but I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, that one I've seen. I don't care for it. You live long enough, you have a bunch of relatives die over the years, and inevitably you get people that are like, they're in a better place. And it's like, that's your coping, and that's whatever. Everybody's gonna deal with it in their own way. But to try to tell me don't be sad because you imagine something it's kind of bullshit. But
so yeah, I mean
at least it comes from a place of compassion,
Right. And the most significant loss I've had in my life is my mother. And I think what I said when my mother died was, and this is 100% true, she will never suffer again. Like, she had breast cancer and suffered before she died. So it's like her suffering has ended completely. Like, she will never feel pain or upset or anything at all like that again. And yeah, that's good. But the flip side is also true. She'll never feel happy or ecstatic or enjoy things again. So it is this idea of, we try and find good in things, but it is a bad thing. It's horrible. We don't mince words about that. And what I fear is that when you start to go, well, all of this death and suffering and horribleness has a point to it that is good at the end, you, like Mother Teresa, you stop seeing that suffering as a bad thing, right? Like, you stop seeing it as oh, we've got to mitigate, avoid, try to help that, and instead see it as, well, that's God's plan. We don't have to do anything because God has a plan, and that's my worry.
And that's
yeah.
That's where it feeds into the fascism thing. Every time God fails, and I'll go into this more in tomorrow's show, but I only have an hour to do tomorrow's show, so I don't mind preluding it now.
Go for it. Tangent
Yeah.
on. Let's do it. Let's tangent like
Tangents!
we've
Yay!
never tangented before. Look, we'll break some record someday. I want to be in the
Maybe.
Guinness Book of Records for number of tangents in a live stream. That's what I want. That's my goal.
I don't know that they keep records on that, but you know, we can do our best. But yeah, every time God fails, like when he doesn't preserve somebody, when he doesn't save someone, when he doesn't heal an amputee, when someone dies and demonstrably does not experience eternal life, well, it's all part of the plan. That's the fascism. It's taking what you can see for yourself as a failure and declaring victory anyway. Because the point isn't to demonstrate the thing you're claiming. The point is to make you accept what is false and call it true under threat of force. But yeah, I'll get into that more tomorrow. Tangents disassemble.
Yeah, but I mean, we get sort of the end result is people like Mother Teresa who saw suffering as holy and you know, part of God's plan and part of God's, you know, working good. So she denied medical care to a whole bunch of people in India because she thought that suffering was good. Took it herself, of course, when she was old and sick. She went to the US and got medical treatment. So it doesn't apply to her, of course.
Naturally, because, you know, she's God's special helper person or something. Yeah.
But you get this weird contradiction in Christianity of people that are loving and caring and care for people, you know, when they're going through palliative care and being very loving and caring, and also doing horrific things because they think that God has decided that for others. It's a very strange thing. You know, like the amount of Christians that are doing horrible things in the name of, well, we've got to spread God's love is just it's baffling to me, and it's really scary, to be honest with you. You know, like, you know, you could see it going back to those times when the Christians used to burn people alive to save their soul. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they literally did. They thought that fire would cleanse their soul while they burnt them to death. Awful stuff, but they thought they were doing good.
Well, I don't know how many thought they were doing good. It was definitely excused as doing good, but
Well, that's true. That's true.
yeah. Oh well, let's. I don't want to give Matt the mic back because what other terrible shit is he gonna say on behalf of the super moral God?
Not sticking to the topic. Does God exist? It's not about the Bible. It's not about emotional arguments. It's not about children in hospitals. And if a child is healed, it's not God who did it. Oh, it's a spontaneous thing of evolution or whatever. But if he doesn't get healed, well, then it's not God. God doesn't exist because there's no evidence. Presuppositions govern how you interpret actuality.
What? If a child is healed, then it's evolutionary process? No, what?
I want that evolution. How do I make my DNA like heal everything?
But if we can make say an influenza vaccine that we keep updating, and because we know that the flu mutates at an incredible rate because we've got the evidence of that, and that works, right? That alleviates it. We know that it's not a God doing it, because when we get them to pray, they still get the flu at a very high rate. And when we administer a flu vaccine every year, they don't. Like, we can test this, Matt. This isn't rocket science, mate. We can test this.
I mean, we can test rocket science too.
But like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, what if a child gets better, that's not God. So are you saying that it's God every time the child gets better? Is that what he's saying?
I have no idea. I've met Lutherans, right? Like I've met a couple Lutheran pastors who say shit like, you know, when a child gets better, it's because of the doctors. But the doctors are doctors because in that moment they are being the hands of God. It's on humans to actualize the divine will in the world, to make things
Right.
better for others, to lessen suffering. When you do that,
Yes.
you're channeling the divine will, you might say. And that
Mhm.
is a valid way to look at it, theologically speaking. But what Matt's, I
Sure.
don't know what the fuck Matt is doing.
Yeah, because I mean, if we have these incidents of applying some sort of therapy, and keep in mind, like if you're going to apply some sort of medical therapy, you've got to show through trials that it does actually have some kind of impact on it. And without doing that, it's a lot worse. We can tell that it is the treatment that's doing it, not just evolution or whatever. I have no idea what he's trying to say. Because if
I'm
what
not
he's
sure
saying
he
was
does.
if what he's saying is the case that God just does it himself, like why do we have medicine? What's the point?
Yeah, like whether if you live or die is the will of God, then what is medicine but trying to undermine God's will? Very peculiar.
Yeah.
That's the fact. That's the fact. Now, I love it when atheists try and give me logical arguments against God's existence. I have a whole list of them on my website, carm.org. 2 million page views every month. CARM.org. Go look it up. Go to the atheism section. See the.
I want to see if that's still up. What did
That's a good idea.
Callin.org.
CARM. Calm.org. I think it's Christian Apologetics and Research Ministry. I don't know. I really want to push back against the amount of research this man is doing, quite frankly. But there's a section for atheists. There is no section for atheists.
The debate's a while ago. I'm not even sure if nope, he's still there. Matt Slick Live.
Oh, really? Can we call in?
Maybe call into the program. There's a phone number every weekday. Wowzers.
Every weekday. Wow.
3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard. Oh my.
Secular
yeah,
issues? There's something there for atheism. Yeah, he's right. Secular issues.
Oh, right. We're seculars. Oh, here's atheism. What's it say?
Atheism is a... Yeah, no, sorry, read it out. Go for it.
Okay. Atheism is a lack of belief or denial of the existence of any God. It is a growing movement that is becoming more aggressive, more demanding, and less tolerant of anything other than itself. Is atheism a sound philosophical system as a worldview, or is it ultimately self-defeating? Learn how to deal with the arguments raised against the existence of God that seek to replace him with naturalism, materialism, and moral relativism.
Wow. We're the ones that are less tolerant of anyone other than ourselves. That's actually hilarious. I mean, wow.
Projection.
Oh, here's one. Do atheists hate the God they don't believe in?
I mean,
do atheists hate the God that they don't believe? People behave according to what they believe, not what they don't believe. So when an atheist says that God doesn't exist or deny him or works hard to disprove his existence, he is behaving in a manner that is consistent with what he believes. What the hell?
What is the Athefro dilemma? And this is an older one from 2016. It's been up here for a while. The Athefro dilemma is a moral dilemma for atheists. Footnote 1.
Ooh.
This dilemma is adapted from the Euthyphro dilemma, hence the name, with the U replaced by for atheism. Basically, the Euthyphro dilemma proposes a problem for Christians when it asks, are moral acts willed by God because they are good, or are they good because they are willed by God? If they are good by nature, then they exist independently of God, and God is not the standard of good, but recognizes the good outside of himself. On the other hand, if something is good because God declares it to be good, then goodness is arbitrary. In that case, God could have declared that murder is good, as we see often in the Bible, and honesty is bad, as we see often in the Bible. This is a false dichotomy. You can see Carm's response to the Euthyphro dilemma. But does the same logic apply to atheists? I think so. Let's take a look. And there's a long article here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's a whole different show.
No, that's yeah.
But I guess to summarize, let's do the first sentence here. If moral acts are good by nature, then atheists are recognizing a standard of goodness that exists independently of themselves, and then they then appeal. I was doing so well with reading, I could almost speak English fluently, and then bleh. They then appeal to an external standard of goodness. So I see what he's getting at there. He's saying, oh, well, if you think goodness exists beyond yourself, then what do you really believe? But that's not. It would work better if I shared the tab I was looking at, wouldn't it? I am a silly bitch. Oh, well.
So I think that something is good. It's not by declaration. It's basically it's good in virtue of where you're trying to what you're trying to achieve. It's basically something will be good to try and get to what you're going for, and something will be bad. So it's only in virtue of your meta-ethical goal. So I think that in this what's it called? What do you call it? Euthyphro dilemma. That's a terrible name. I mean, Euthyphro was the name of the person. It's not a technical term. It's just the name of an ancient Greek guy. So we kind of just declare moral acts to be good. But I mean, moral and good are the same thing. So you're basically saying, do atheists simply declare good acts to be good? No, we evaluate acts in relation to what we're trying to do. So yeah, that's about it. I don't think they're sort of. I mean, it's been called moral nihilism before. I think that I mean, I would use the term moral anti-realist. I don't think there's any real objective morality in the world. I think we create moral judgments based upon what we're trying to do and the outcomes that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
There are atheists that would disagree.
Absolutely. Right? Atheism isn't a monolith. Different people are going to have a different idea on what is, like, some people might be like capitalism above everything. So whatever creates the most profit is good, no matter how many people it harms. It's all about what you value and what you prioritize. And then we
that's
individually,
what I believe,
because everything is pluses and minuses. Every single decision you make does some good and causes some harm. And so we have to evaluate it based on what we're aiming at.
Well, there's atheists like sort of Graham Oppy who would disagree. People that would sort of appeal to evolutionary process and survival as being the objective morality or the objective goal that we're getting to. And so a cooperation, we know that's better for survival than not. So cooperation is definitely something that would be put forward. And in that case, sort of you would be saying, hey, anything that sort of destroys society and things like that would be immoral because it will lessen the chances of survival and flourishing within the universe. But I don't think that's necessarily objective. I think it's just subjective because it's us, like we want to survive. But that's another conversation. That's another tangent. So
more tangents. And
Yay.
Speaking of things that are off topic, I'm doing what I can with segues here tonight, folks. Left Handed Jedi coming in with a membership for 17 months. Holy crap.
Nice.
That's some. We're getting some big numbers, folks. Those of you who've been around for quite a while, I appreciate you sticking with us. I mean, welcome to all new people too. Obviously and absolutely, join the party. We love to see you.
Yeah.
But the people who've been here for a while, hell yeah, appreciate you. And I appreciate Jedi even more for sending another super chat, $2 this time, and says, I want, nay, I demand stuffed crust pizza, which is valid.
Mm-hmm. I have had stuffed crust pizza. It was okay. It was pretty damn good. It's just incredibly unhealthy, and I'm very aware of that. So, everything in moderation. But yeah, no, I did like stuffed crust. I don't know. As I've gotten older, I think I've gone for more thin and crispy pizzas kind of thing. The more savory kind of stuff, rather than cheesy. I don't know why. I'm not 100% sure. That's weird, but hey,
Tastes
our tastes change over time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I like
yeah.
pineapple and cherries now. Go figure.
Mm. I think that when I was younger, I would have thought, like, I've seen the Chicago deep dish, and when I was younger, I would have said, "Oh, that would be amazing." And like now, I would just go, "Absolutely not." It'd be the New York slice is the thin and crispy one is the New York slice, isn't it? Kind of thing.
Well, the New York style is a thinner crust, but a
Yeah.
proper thin crust is a tortilla shell. It's like really thin. It produces like a cracker like pizza. You slice it in a Chicago style, and you get these little bitty chunks of pizza. It's weird, but I
Right.
mean sometimes
Right.
it really hits the spot too, and it's technically lower calorie because it's a tortilla shell instead of a
Yeah.
dough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And I got nothing for this transition, but Captive Desk, Dave is here.
Hey,
Hello, Dave. So as people who've been around a while know, YouTube gives us free memberships to distribute, and I tend to do them on these debate review shows. We get channels of our size, get 10 every month, and I do 5 on one show and 5 on the other show when they're on my channel. And I promised Dave that I would do it after he had a chance to pop in so I can show him how it's done. So we will do that right now. So we'll share the tab. Yep, I've got us muted.
Beautiful.
Make sure we're showing. We're a ways back in time because I'm in different screens. Anyway, you go into the live chat here. In fact, helpful. You click on the money button. Like if you were going to send a super chat, and underneath membership, if it's your channel, you get an extra. Well, no, you can membership gifting no matter what. But when you do it on your own channel, then it shows you get free gifts, and it says, I have 5 gift memberships left to give. Terms apply, yada yada. But that's where you find it, is membership gifting on your own channel's live chat. And I'll do it again just to be clear. You press the money button in the live chat, membership gifting, and it brings up your free gifts for your own channel. And then I hit the button, and and that's how you do it. It came up because Dave is trying to open up his next membership slot, and giving away his own free memberships could help him bridge that gap to the next slot level. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
pretty neat.
Yeah, so go and show Dave some love, because he actually has been around for a long time on our channels, and he does a ton to support the humanist community around here. And so thank you for everything you do, Dave. I don't think I've said that recently, and it probably deserves to be said. He's all a fantastic guy.
Absolutely. And I've got notifications in the way on my live chat.
Nice.
So the gifts, we always try to call out the gifts. Oh, I wonder if I switch it from top chat to live chat, if it'll show me. Yeah, okay, here we go. Those went to Jessica, the Transmetal Alchemist. Hell yeah. Karen Butcher.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Per Aspera
yeah.
Ed Astra. I haven't seen you in a bit, but I hope this brings you around, because it's always nice seeing you. Dadu and Robert Madewell. Oh, pretty good ones. I dig it. Good job, algorithm. But we've got more stuff happening in. Oh, am I still sharing the live chat? I am bad at this. Why am I like this? See, I normally have Studio open, and yeah, I can share this tab. This is what Studio looks like. It shows you the live viewership. You can hit the drop and insert ad button if you want, and it also shows you the live chat. But you can't do membership gifting from Studio. You have to go to the actual broadcast to do that. So But I digress. As you saw, there's more stuff in there. I got to scroll down to find it. First, Wim Sweden, Ethafro, a non-hairdo. Perfect.
I think I've got an eighth of row, actually. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. And Jester sending $5. Thank you so much, Jester. Also, a person who's been around a long, long time. Jester says, in fairness, I do hate God as a character. He's had all of forever to show some character development, and really all he did was kill his wife and son. Oop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of what I
fairness,
was.
I don't think Mary was his wife. I think that was his lover.
I mean, well, from a certain perspective, and also Jester has become an official Ember. Of course, Jester's been member off and on. Gift memberships go all over the place. Things like that happen. But Jester has opted in to become an Ember member, which I should note comes with benefits. Yes, my friends get benefits. Giggity. For one thing, not only do you get all the cool, fun emojis, because again, the nifty emojis are part of the thing. Members have access to a whole bunch of those. I dropped a few random ones in the chat just now, but also there's a shit ton of exclusive content. There's a bunch of past videos that are only available to members. I'm plotting and scheming to do a member stream probably the week after next, because I'll be on vacation from my day job and we'll have slightly more time. So, we're going to try. We'll see how it goes. No problem.
And we probably should mention we're taking a slight hiatus as well. That skipped my mind for a second. So, when is that? It's on the 1st, I think, is when it begins. But basically, it's Ember's got something one week and I've got something the next. So it's kind of like, I forgot to mention that at the start. So I'll put it up in my community thing as well. But that just suddenly reminded me, So the first, so next week, I think it is, you've got something on.
The second week. I'm the 7th and 8th is when NocoCon is happening. My Comic-Con in Watertown, New York. So I will be out of town.
Yeah, man, I've got a debate on Sunday the 1st, which is Saturday for everybody else. And like, man, I have to get up at like 6 a.m. to make that one, which is, exactly, big oof. But
so
who doesn't want to get up at 6 o'clock on a Sunday? That's
right.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be the last one for a couple of weeks, brief hiatus, and then we'll be back on Mark's on the 2nd weekend of June. So we probably should have mentioned that at the start. So it didn't occur to me.
Should have.
This is the last one before the mini break.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's okay. We will be back. We haven't broken up. So, sort of any rumors that the band is broken up is absolutely false. No, we're just going to have it's going to be a 2-week break. So Ember can do her con, which will be fantastic. And I can debate a person on Raging Tomato, which will be way less fantastic, but I will have a lot of fun. I'm not sure he will. I definitely will. So, yeah.
Yeah, but
I will be live streaming that. I will be live streaming it. So I got to get that set up. Yeah.
So there'll still be Mark to watch and
mm-hmm. Are you going to put up video of the con? Are you going to share, or is that something they don't? Wait, aren't you organizing it? Why
it's my convention. It's just
I was just about to say, what if they don't let you? It's like, hang on, isn't that you?
Right? I'm not gonna let me. No, the internet there is shit. We can't live stream.
Okay.
I've tried it. It just doesn't work.
You could do some videos, right? Like just
I record
highlights.
The shit out of
I would love to see. Okay, fantastic. All right. Just I need to live vicariously through your social life. That's all.
I keep like envisioning putting together highlights from all the various events to make this really cool. Thanks for a great year, and also to promo the next year sort of thing. I never have time. I barely get the videos of specific
No,
events
that's
that people
fair.
want to
That's
see
fair.
done.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the adult cosplay contest. It's the biggest in the Northeast outside of New York City. There's thousands of dollars in prizes and various things. I barely get that one done. You know, it just
No, that's fair. That's
it's
fair.
hard.
I'm not going to expect too much. I just, yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing.
It's pretty fucking neat. But on that note, I have a discount code. Anybody who happens to be watching this and wants to come to NocoCon and can make it to Watertown, New York, the first weekend in June, the 7th and 8th, you can go to the website, noco-con, nococon.com. And when you buy tickets, enter my name, Ember, all capital letters. You'll get $5 off any ticket. Day pass, VIP pass, other assorted passes. Yeah. So, you know, just throwing that out there. I don't know if anybody's planning to come, but it's there if you want it, you know. It'd be pretty neat if usually a TikTok person named Panda Red just knocks it out of the park with the use of his discount code. But numbers 2 through 10 on the top 10 are up for grabs. Sometimes those people only sell 1 or 2 tickets with their discount code. So it's not impossible. I could be on the top 10 list, and that would be pretty fun.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Mostly because most of the guests just never promote their appearances because they're TikTok people. They don't have media training. They're not celebrities on appearances, you know? And in fairness, I'm kind of bad at that too.
Yeah, me too.
Although I did mention I'm going to be on Bad Science Sunday tomorrow, so I'm not completely useless at plugging my own appearances. Anyway, Captive Desk Dave sends us $2. Thank you so much, and says thanks for the tutorial. I hope it works. Again, I don't know for sure whether that's a 500 subscriber or 1,000 subscriber or where the line is for that. But
Right.
I think there's a good chance if you have members and other people can gift memberships, there's a really good chance that you can gift membership. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. But yeah. And Jester sends another $5. Thank you so much. Jester's just all about it today, right up there with Jedi, with the participation. And says, A, I believe this is my first time Embership fell off, and B, justice for God's wife, Asherah. Never forget.
Asherah. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Both valid points.
That wasn't originally Yahweh's wife. That was the consort of El. So it was actually his mother that he killed, Jester. So yeah, his mother wife, I guess.
I get kind of both. I mean, remember, the Bible is full of all kinds of parents marrying their children and having offspring.
That is true. Yeah.
And it just makes sense. Just like every other god, the gods do the same things the mortals do for some strange reason. Well, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, yay for other gods. All right, I think that's enough detouring for the moment.
You think? Okay.
We got a lot of bonus content in right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People come here for the tangents.
No, they stay for the
I've seen you just simply answer them. Bang, 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 bang. Give me another one. You got one? Give it to me. I would love it. If you can prove God does not exist, or the irrationality of God's existence, really? It's not possible to prove negative, though, is it? Well, actually,
it is actually. Also, Jedi, I see you. I appreciate you. It's not a contest. I love you both.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is shifting the burden of proof. That's all it is. That is it straight out. He's basically saying it's not possible to prove a negative. Well, you're right. It kind of is. You can demonstrate that something probably doesn't exist, but he's asking you to demonstrate the impossibility of a god, right? So presumably he means the logical impossibility. This is ridiculous because logical impossibility doesn't mean that something logical impossibility means something that exists, but just because something's logically possible doesn't mean that it does. And I've been through this conversation with precepts ad frigging nauseum. You know, like it is logically possible for me to be in the other room, but I'm not. right? That state of being, that possibility, while it's logically possible, isn't the actual case. So it's logically possible there is a God, but that doesn't mean a God exists. And it doesn't mean I have to prove the logical impossibility of the God. I mean, you can. If you say your God is all benevolent and he does evil stuff, then that's a logical impossibility. It violates the law of contradiction, right? So is God omnibenevolent? That's either going to be true or false. And if it's false and you say that your God is omnibenevolent, then that disproves that he exists.
Or at least that he exists in the way he's being described, which
Right.
amounts to the same
Yeah.
thing. Because we're not trying
Exactly.
to disprove
Yeah.
all gods. We're just showing that that particular God claim is incoherent or irrational or just straight up impossible. It just,
I mean,
yeah.
I could say to Matt, show that Bigfoot is impossible. Show that fairies are impossible. You can't do that because they're unfalsifiable. They're always able to hide. They're always able to have things that they can do,
The invisible dragon in the garage. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Carl Sagan. Rest in peace.
It is technically, we'll get into that. Now, if God has free will and you can't know he knows what you're going to do, you don't have a choice to be able to do it, you don't have free will, you know what I could say is your chemical reactions in your brain programmed you to say that. Because if you're a materialist, your brain is restricted to the physical laws of the universe, and therefore your brain programmed you to say that. You have no free will to complain about free will.
Okay.
That's a problem.
That reminds me of the thing Hitchens used to say. Apparently, I have free will. I have no choice about it.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, I think he used to say, I must believe in free will. I have no choice kind of thing, which is paradoxical. But he's basically, so what I want you to understand is the fallacy of appeal to consequence, right? That when someone is saying, hey, if this is true, it's really bad, so it can't be true, right? So it's kind of like, it's wishful thinking in a way. It's basically saying the entitlements of this being true, I don't like, therefore it can't be true. So if, my wife is cheating on me, but that would destroy my marriage, so it can't be true. Look, there's a lot of reasons why I know that's not the case, but, the consequences of that being the truth isn't one of them, right? Like that can't be a reason for it not being true. Okay, so we can't give the outcomes and the entailments of something as being the reason why it is or is not true.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really want to win the lottery so I can, pay my hospital bill, for example.
Right.
So therefore, if I buy a ticket, I don't even have to buy a ticket. I'll just win because I really want to. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the wishful thinking. An argument from consequence is saying that, hey, if you don't win the lotto, you're going to lose your house and your property. So you have to win the lotto. It's sort of like saying that, hey, if this is not coming true, then but what we know from reality is that things happen and things are what they are, regardless of the consequences of them. Like regardless of whether you're going to, your life is going to be destroyed. It has no bearing upon what the reality of the situation is.
Indeed. And another thing that I got nothing on this one too. I was going to try to say something about the bearing on reality. Jester just transcends realities. But
can you just highlight it's a weird multiverse. We're all correct in the falsehood.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Jester.
Just
mythology is a weird multiverse. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can highlight Karen's, and that's a really good example, like don't like the consequent cancer, therefore it can't be true. I won't die of cancer. Right. So you're saying I can't have cancer because that would destroy my life. That's an appeal to consequence. You see a lot of this. Actually, you saw the president in 2020 make the same argument, basically. Oh, if you start to test people for the pandemic thing, we're going to get a lot of cases. So that would be really bad. It's like, yeah, that's not finding out doesn't actually change it, because the consequences are bad doesn't change the actual reality of what it is. So it is a mistake that a lot of people make, and Matt's doing it 100% here. He's saying, hey, if there's no free will, then we're just going through the motions of what we're biologically programmed to do. Okay. But that would be the consequences of that, which you don't like.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it not true.
So what? Like that's a case you can make. You can not like the outcomes of that and still make that case, but that doesn't mean it's not true. Like, so what if we are programmed? I don't think we are. I have my own weird version of compatibilism where some of our decisions are programmed responses. I mean, we know that to be true. We have reflexes,
Yes.
But
yes.
you touch a hot stove, you pull your hand back without even thinking about it. Some shit is programmed. But then there's other things that are so far out of the stimulus and rational response paradigm, like flashes of inspiration, for example, ideas that come out of nowhere. It's probably an emergent property, and as we get deeper and deeper into neuroscience, in another 100 years, we can probably fully explain that. But for the time being, it is a useful model to consider human behavior as at least partially free will based. Yeah.
Well, you see a lot of these things out of theists, especially where, death is involved, and they'll basically say, well, if it's, I need to believe in God because if it's not true, then we don't get to go to heaven and stuff. And it's like, well, hold on a second. If it's not true, it doesn't matter what you believe about it. Like, whether or not it's true doesn't have it's not impacted by the consequences of there not being a heaven, right? Like it's wild to I don't understand this thinking. It's kind of like, well, if I don't like the consequences of there not being a heaven, then I should believe that there's a heaven. And it's like, how does that follow? I don't understand.
I don't completely understand that perspective either. Like this whole, the theistic semi-nihilism where they're like, well, if there's no afterlife, then there's no point to anything.
Oh yeah, that's weird as well. Like that is wild, because what else? Like, there's tons of things that are temporary and we still enjoy. It's like saying, well, why would I go to a concert? Because it's going to be over in an hour and a half or whatever. And it's just like, well, hold on a second. There's more reasons to do that. It's to enjoy the concert while it's actually happening. Like, I don't understand. It's weird. It's very strange.
Yeah, in fact, some things are better in temporary form. Like, can you imagine being at an eternal concert?
Yeah, exactly.
That would start to suck after a minute. Or the never-ending meal. Like, I mean, it's great on the very first level of thought, but once you get past that and you're like, okay, I'm eating chicken risotto for eternity. Never again will I get to have stroganoff or pineapple or all these other wonderful things. The fact that they're temporary means we can do other things, and that's pretty fucking cool. Right. Ay. And flowers. Yes. Actually, I have no problem with eternal flowers. That would be fine. It says free will based, not to be confused with free based will. Don't mind me. I'll be over here.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that one. I got to be honest with you. I know it's Aunt Jo making some kind of joke, and hello, Aunt Jo, it's so good to see you. But you know, I'm not sure I get that one. It's probably me though. You know what? When Aunt Jo says something and I don't get it, it's almost certainly me. That's been my experience.
Yeah, and Andrew says, "Fuck, 40 years of living is enough for me, and entire eternity would be torture." Well, and
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons where, if we're gonna go by wishful thinking and consequence and whatnot, I'm a fan of reincarnation, because, like, I see pluses to the concept of eternal life. Like, for me personally, I want to see what happens in the future. I want to see where technology
Mm.
goes and the answers to
Yeah,
some of the
yeah,
questions
yeah.
we have, what humans learn, so on and so forth. But on the flip side, our bodies don't work as well. The older we get, the more pain we experience, and like,
Mm.
at a certain point, it would be more beneficial to, you know, start over. Like, you've had your chicken risotto, now it's time for the lobster over rice or whatever, you know?
Right.
Something like that. Ay.
In the atheistic perspective. It's a serious problem, which is why Barker says in his Compatibilist regarding free will, that we have the illusion of free will. I see your debate with Peter Payne here, 2005. You have the illusion of free will. Why would he raise the argument of free will if he has the illusion of free will? Is that consistent? What I try to do is demonstrate that there are transcendentals. You don't look under a rock to find God. I've experienced him. You won't believe me if I told you what happened. I used to be an atheist agnostic. I wanted to be a marine biologist. Something happened. I changed. There's a reason. I'm no stupid person. I'm not an idiot.
Well, that's a debate unto itself, but, you know, we'll allow that he's not as stupid as he thinks stupid means, but whatever. There's so much in what he's saying that I take issue with. Just to point at one thing, to narrow it down, why don't we find God under a rock? If he's omnipresent, if he's in all things, if he's plainly visible, the invisible evidence is clearly seen, all that stuff, why don't we find him under a rock? You know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that bugs me. There's a lot that bugs me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm faster than Andrew. Haha, like a ninja.
And whenever you're hearing this, just insert fairies into the same thing, right? Like, we wouldn't expect to find fairies under a rock, you know, like, all of these can be applied to just about anything, you know, any kind of unfalsifiable entity that you do want to make up out of the blue. That is one of the techniques of disproving sort of something, is doing what's called a reductio ad absurdum. You put a contrary in there and see if it works exactly the same in the example. So if we put an invisible, intangible dragon that I keep in my garage in there, it works exactly the same. You wouldn't expect to find that under a rock because that's not where it exists, kind of thing. You know, it works exactly the same.
Yeah,
So don't be fooled.
I've had a personal experience with the invisible, intangible dragon that lives in Mark's garage, and it changed my life. So, you know, say what you will, you can't disprove its reality, because I have a personal experience and things. Hey, there's Per Aspera. Having fun with the emojis.
Astra.
Yeah.
I think that he's really making appeals to emotion, which is hilarious, because he's accusing Dan Barker of making an appeal to emotion, which he wasn't really. I mean, he gave his story. I would say that him talking about how he was supposed to be a minister and stuff, perhaps that is a little bit, to be fair, but Matt's doing it as well. So I don't get how this is a rebuttal at all.
Yeah, if to the extent he's rebutting, he seems to be rebutting a previous debate, which is not this debate.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I guess he did go on a bit about the problem of evil, but he more just said, hey, there's no problem because my son died. And stop making appeals to emotion.
But atheists are incoherent. For the record, for those of you interested, Dave, has checked back with the details and says at the 500 subs level, you need the 500 subs and 3,000 view hours to get 10 gifts a month. It may not have kicked in yet, but Dave's channel does qualify. That's the same level you need in order to turn memberships on. So it may be that it's the button just isn't available yet, but that's the level. For those of you still building channels or wondering where levels happen, I know huge channels have a different number, but I'm not sure where that line is, where they get a different number, or if it comes in steps or what it. If we get there, I'll let you know. But for now, we're at the 10 gifts a month level. Say love you.
Check things out. Go check out my website. Use logic. But see if your presuppositions and your assumptions can be maintained in your particular worldview. Do the transcendentals that exist. The transcendental are the truths that are not dependent. That which is transcendental is not dependent upon space and time for their validity. The laws of logic are not dependent upon when and where you are. They're always true. They're independent of the physical brain. How does an atheist worldview account for the transcendentals? If God is transcendental and his mind is transcendental and he enters into our physical realm, then we have the eminence of transcendental qualities in our physical realm that we can detect because we're made in the image of God. Genesis 1:26.
It kind of, this laws of logic being transcendental and not in space and time, they seem to be, it's like any transcendental thing, like math or whatever. They also exist in our brain, but like these universals, like you've got to show that they're transcendental of the physical universe, and I don't think they are. I think that all memories are physical, because if you get a physical trauma to the head, you can lose memories. How does that work in a spiritual realm? Like, why is it that somebody kicked me really hard in the head and I lost these memories spiritually? Like, how does that work exactly? How is it that people get, amnesia recurring each day? Like, they will forget everything back to a certain point. Like, this is a physical thing. So
it's a weird. I've heard different variants of possible excuses, and that's the thing, is they're always post hoc explanations rather than things you can demonstrate are the reason for the thing. But the thing that really gets to me about what Matt said there was that whole God is beyond the universe, that sort of transcendent, transcendental, whatever the fuck, and intervenes in the universe in ways you can detect. Cool. Show us how to detect the God.
Right.
If we can detect it, we can end this debate really fast.
Yeah. But that's when they have to appeal to divine hiddenness, that he's, all powerful and trying not to be found, which is wild.
He's very shy.
Apparently so.
I can relate. I went through a shy period.
That's fair.
43 years ish. Not really. I was a theater nerd. I was thrilled to get on stage and do characters and like just, be bigger than myself in my regular life, because on stage it was okay to do that. And I mean, in a way that kind of carries over into doing YouTube, because it's a similar sort of thing. Like, I'm much more me here, but I get to like dial it up to 11, It's pretty neat. But in my regular life, I was very shy. I suspected it had something. There were a lot of factors. I've talked to therapists over the years about some of it, but there were a lot of factors. But I'm getting way the hell off topic.
All right, that's okay. No, but I mean, the funny thing is that if you wanted people to know you existed, you could still do so. Because apparently God wants us to all know that he exists, but can't seem to manage to do it.
It's the stone so heavy that even he can't lift it, apparently.
Well, it's just an omnipotent God. with control over the universe. Like there shouldn't be a question of whether this God exists or how do we find him. You know, like it should be absolutely evident, and it's not. That's the problem.
Yeah. Or even if we just, for the sake of generosity, grant the assertion there is some God, how do we determine which one? I mean, for me, that's like the tripping block of atheism on the path to theism. Is even if you say, okay, there's things in the universe I can't explain, therefore there must be a God. How do you figure out which one is the real one, if any of the ones on offer from humans? Because they all the religions have identically unfalsifiable claims.
Mhm.
There's all you've got is consequence. Which afterlife do you prefer? Which set of rules and strictures vibes best with you? You know, there's nothing substantial to any of it. But what is substantial is apparently tomorrow is Mother's Day in Sweden land. So yeah, happy Mother's Day to
Happy Mother's Day. Yeah.
Deviant's mama. Yay.
Yeah, we've already had ours. We must have ours on a different day or something. So happy Swedish Mother's Day in particular.
Come for the topic, stay for the tangents. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
Oh my. Yeah, it's important to recognize Mother's Days because I mean it's important to recognize special days for anybody, especially yourself.
Yeah.
Don't neglect your birthdays. You only get so many. Celebrate yourself, damn it. But the special days we designate for other people, because when we don't, it can make people feel left out or not seen or not appreciated or what have you. And you know, sometimes these things, they matter more to some people than others, but it's not for us to dictate to them what's important to them, you know? And speaking of things that are important, I got a good one. Left-Handed Jedi sends $5. Thank you so much, Jedi. And says, movie quote from Peter O'Toole. I'm not an actor. I'm a movie star. I assume that's what Peter O'Toole would sound. I don't actually know.
Well, dress for the job you want, I guess.
I actually rather, as much as I enjoy acting, I like being behind the camera more, because bringing a story to life is fantastic, but telling the story, that's almost godlike powers. You're like creating the world and then making the people scamper around inside. It's actually a lot like being a god, come to think of it. Oh my.
No,
All
look,
right.
I think any of us could do a better job than the God of the Bible, quite frankly. Like anybody
It's
could do a
true.
better job.
Even Matt Slick, because as much as he rails about it, as horrible as some of his takes have been, I don't think it would come time for the Great Flood and he'd be like, you know what? All the babies should drown. They should just suffer and asphyxiate. I don't think he'd do it.
In the issue of creation, it's called the cosmological argument. I used it against the atheist Eddie Taubach. She couldn't refute it. If you have an impersonal cause that's prior to the universe existing ontologically forever, the necessary and sufficient conditions required automatic result of creation. And I already stated that would mean the universe was infinitely old, but it's not. So therefore, it's not possible that an impersonal cause brought the universe into existence.
How does he know?
He doesn't.
How do you know?
You're just saying shit really fast. He's doing a Ben Shapiro. If I say bullshit really fast, granted, I have him at 1.25, so he's not actually that fast, but whatever. For fuck's sake. This
is the assumption that time is linear and standard and moves at the same time everywhere, which we know is not true. You're treating time like it can't be stretched out and contracted as part of space. Like there is no just time. It's space-time. It's all one thing. It's just time is just a dimension of space. That's all.
Yeah, It's in fact there's measurable relationships. Like the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. It's
Yeah.
not a one-to-one relationship. There's a, you know, like a
No.
logarithmic curve thing, complex data, yada yada.
Mhm.
But as just a principle you can state, the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time.
Yep.
Because your total speed through the universe is a constant. You can't change. It's like the speed of light. You can't change it. You can only change the way you perceive it through your local reference frame. It's wild. But this whole jumping from there is a cosmos, therefore there must be a person, that's like
Yep.
multiple steps of non sequiturs stacked on top
Mhm.
of each other wearing a trench coat.
Yeah.
Ugh. If the universe is infinite, how could you possibly get to Chicago? It's just nonsense. More people have been to Berlin than I have. It sounds like a sentence. It
Yeah.
really does.
Other logical explanation is a personal cause decided. Transcendent eminence in the physical realm via creation. In the moral argument, if anybody wants to come up to me, any atheist, and say, that's right, that's wrong, you can only say, it's your opinion, which I have your opinion, no problem. I want to argue, got your opinion? Good, your opinion. Don't put your opinion on me and say that something I say or do or believe is right or wrong. Don't be doing that.
That's such a frustrating thing we get from,
Yeah.
it's not just believers, but believers tend to be especially bad about it, is this idea that there is no room for discussion, that I can't
Mhm.
persuade you to come around to my way of seeing things. Like if we do this, that would be harmful for this reason. If we do this, it would be beneficial for this reason. No,
Mhm.
no, we just declare things, and whoever declares it the
Right.
loudest is right. We can't convince,
Right.
we can't converse. It's just absolute knowledge all the time.
So, and
Fuck.
it's really important. It's really important to understand that morality, as defined by, say, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, is the code of conduct accepted by all rational people. So, it's not talking about one individual. It's talking about the code of conduct across a society, okay, that would be acceptable. So, if I just my morality and go, okay, it's now moral to steal things, the morals of a society does not change. So it isn't just my opinion, and this is where a word is used that's intersubjective. It's agreed upon by everybody. Um, More than that, we can basically say that that society will have some sort of purpose or some sort of thing that it's trying to do, mostly to do with its own flourishing of that society and the people within it. So we can sort of say, hey, things are good if they get to that society flourishing, and people will see it as good. So because their lives will get better if the society is succeeding. So you might go USA because I'm in USA, which I'm not, but I'm just going to say I'm in USA and that makes my life better. So people agree that it is a good thing if the United States does well. And it's a bad thing if it does badly because I'm part of it. Right. So it's not this idea that you just create your own morals and you can have a totally different moral thing and then that becomes objectively moral. That's not it. No, no.
Mhm. Yeah, it's calling out to a broader value system and
Right.
saying this priority is high enough that
Mhm.
we should prioritize it.
Right. And then we have conversations. We say, hey, if we all agree that the USA should be doing well, what will get us towards that and what will make us veer away from it? And so I can convince somebody by saying, hey, look, if these, say for instance, the tariffs were tried back before the Great Depression, and they didn't work then. So I can say, hey, tariffs are going to be really bad because it's going to make the economy do this, which is bad for the country, and that's so we would see that as an immoral thing to do because it's awful. So, and it's an ongoing conversation about what we do, what we ought to do to have the best thing for everybody. It's not this sort of, well, I just decide what's moral within a society. No, it's not what happens.
Or as we're doing in the USA now, doing what is obviously immoral and declaring it's moral anyway.
Right, right. And that's where you have the I mean, somebody, I think it was Jess in my chat, she sort of said, well, it used to be that they made excuses and stuff. Now they're just outright gaslighting. And I'm like, yeah, it's turned from plausible deniability to denial of reality.
Yeah, straight up, bald face, look you in the eye,
Yep.
and stab you in the back. Denial of reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's all no. The Chinese people will pay the tariffs. That's not how that works. But officially, that's how that works. To plug tomorrow's show again,
Yep.
that's one of the hallmarks of fascism. Is peace is war. It's where Orwell got the idea.
And I think that it's interesting that you mentioned that, because fascism, there is this presentation of these appalling falsehoods about reality as the truth, and then the implicit, it's not explicit, it's implicit, the implied threat if you don't believe it, kind of thing. You know, like, if you question this, bad things are going to happen to you. So believe that or else, kind of thing, is you know, we see that a lot in the communications secretary, she going, you know, how dare you question whether this person is doing this when they're quite obviously doing that. You know, it is that implied threat, you know, that comes with it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's intentionally being open about the lie and demanding you declare the lie to be true,
Correct.
or else.
Or
And
else,
that's
yeah.
one of the biggest parallels with the Bible, is the concept of hell. You have to believe this thing that you know is false, or else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's pretty fucked. That's why I
Oh, it
contend
is,
that
yeah.
Christianity, while not necessarily fascist in its own right, to borrow from Matt's terminology here, it programs the brain to be fascistic leaning, because that deny reality, accept false things, and the or else that gives it the authoritarian element, that's all present in Christianity.
Well, fascism isn't necessarily deceptive like that. It does tend towards that, just like communism does tend towards that. But I think that the main thing that does is the idea of, so fascism basically, it was summed up by Mussolini as everything is the state and there is nothing outside the state, right? So everything is the nation, and working for the nation with nothing outside, like nothing permitted to be outside of it. And we see a distinct parallel in the way that people are like, everything is God, and God is everything, and there's nothing outside of it. There's this whole all-encompassing, you know, your lives are for the state or the head or the God, basically. That's why you exist. It's what you're supposed to do, and that is a hallmark of fascism.
Yeah, it's shockingly how similar it is with evangelicalism. Like, your life, your purpose is to serve God, whether you believe in God or not. Even if you oppose Christianity or not, it's all part of the plan.
Yep.
You can't help but follow God's will, which brings me back to, you know, the people who do horrible things. That's, according to them, part of God's plan. God planned it that way on purpose. Oof. But, you know, I do digress.
You don't have any right. If you want to say society says, well, Matt, you're right. Who cares? Argument ad populum. The majority says it's right, so therefore it's right. Come on, think. The problem of evil exists.
Saying "come on, think" is definitely the most persuasive argument.
Yeah. So it's not right or wrong because a majority of the people think that way. It's just the majority decide that, and it may be objective. Look, I'm not entirely opposed to it, but it may be that we want our communities and our societies to flourish, because just say we're genetically programmed like that. That's the, you know, and that's where sort of saying, hey, there's no free will doesn't actually kill the moral question. It actually makes it stronger, because you can say, hey, you're progress. But just say we all decide, hey, we like a society that flourishes, and we have a relatively enjoyable life, and we're content in our lives. We want a strong society that will work well together and benefit us all, right? Just say we decide on that. Yeah, that's intersubjective. We all sort of decide between ourselves, but the actual moral questions, what will get us to that and what won't get us to that, is not subjective. It's not really like, oh, well, I decide that in order to have a flourishing society, I'm going to go on a shooting spree throughout the country kind of thing. That will not get me to what I want, right? So that's what we're talking about. So it's not just like, well, I decide that being a outrageous criminal will make the society better in virtue of making it flourish. It doesn't change, right? That still won't get me to that goal. So, I won't be able to just decide that and change that. It still won't get me to where I'm going. So what he's saying is not true. Yeah, technically everybody could just decide, hey, we want a society that collapses. That's what we want now. And then me being an outrageous criminal might actually get me to that goal. So it is good in that society if I do that. But, what? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Mark should be an American, so you can be an outrageous criminal. And Commander 401 reminding us that the existence of free will strongly implies the existence of a free won't.
Yeah. I agree.
We have the best chat.
This in the
I like that one.
atheist worldview. First of all, define evil. And if you're an evolutionist materialist, is rape bad because someone doesn't like it? Why is it bad? Is murder wrong because someone doesn't like that?
Yes.
In Exodus 20, verse 13, murder is wrong. That's how come I know. What? Oh, 2 minutes.
Never mind all the times in the Bible, including immediately after that commandment was handed down, where murder was. Never mind. Pay no attention.
Apparently murder is evil, but apparently genocide is not. Oh, as long as God requests it. I forgot. There's a few caveats to that one, as long as God requests it. And that's the whole point. Matt tries to appeal to God's nature to define his morality. Well, it's in God's nature to destroy entire tribes and destroy children and destroy the world. Well, if you're going to God's nature for that, and God's nature has it within it to destroy the world, then why would it be immoral to do so? And you can say, hey, okay, but that's for God to do and not for us. Well, then you're not getting your morals from God's nature, are you?
Oops.
You're getting it from somewhere else, i.e. what God says. Like, I'm allowed to do this, but you're not. That's not God's nature. That's God saying what we are permitted to do and what he's permitted to do. Right? Which, you can do that, but it's obviously not coming from God's nature, because God's nature is to destroy tribes and do all of these things in the Bible.
Human-scented flesh candles and things. Wim Sweden
Oh, yeah.
says, first, Bigfoots, but Wim Sweden says, I never got the point. If he created you, he can kill you. So I have weird thoughts about that one. As many of you know, I didn't grow up Christian, despite my grandmother's best efforts. The pastors in my area just couldn't answer a single fucking question I ever asked, and I was never convinced. But my mother loved to say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out of it. And I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure that would be a crime. Like, yes, you physically could. You're bigger than me, stronger than me. You could just smother me with a pillow or whatever. But there'd be consequences, right? Just because you created me doesn't give you the right to destroy me, But, God is the ultimate hypocrite, apparently. It's rules for thee and not for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What a guy. And the fact that this hypocritical, contradictory being is the invention of the imagination of humans tells us a lot about humans, at least those humans.
Well, the character of God fits a lot more with human behavior. You know, violent, horrible, vengeful, emotional, you know,
Jealous, will to dominate.
yeah, petulant, childlike, you know, and as we've grown, he's turned into this all love, all thing, all caring. And it's like God seems to be a reflection of humans as they've progressed along, kind of thing. There doesn't seem to be any, you know, this makes a lot more sense if you think about God as a human conception that's been constructed from a reflection of ourselves over the eras. It seems to match up a lot more than a all good loving being from the beginning of time that just happened to genocide a few peoples.
Yeah, you know, little oopsie moments.
Yeah.
All the regrets in the Bible and things. It just, yeah, I've heard a few, I don't know if you'd refer to them as psychologists who study religion or
Okay.
theologians who study psychology, whichever way
Right,
you
right.
want to go with it. But
Yeah.
there's this idea that, shoot, how does it go? My brain is mush, so I'm working with a mush meat computer today. The blender has been blending. It's that God should be understood and is understood by many senior theologians as a representative, a metaphor for the community as a whole. The community wills that adultery is wrong and adulterers should be stoned to death in order to prevent it, to purge the
Yes.
wicked from among you, whatever that may mean
Right,
in the
right.
given
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And a lot of at least the Old Testament stories make a lot more sense. If you, wherever you see God or Lord or whatever, you substitute in the community. The
Yes.
community has declared this thing.
Or the society. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a fun idea. I don't know if you can really
Yeah.
demonstrate that's true in a scholarly factual sense, but it's another lens you can shift your perspective with a little bit. And
Yeah, absolutely.
speaking of shifting things like burdens of proof, or I don't know, Jester, member for 22 months. You may recall just moments ago, Jester remembered to reignited.
Yeah, I don't think
reignited.
I don't think it drops your time back to 0, Jester.
No,
I think
it's
it just
cumulative.
keeps adding it up. I noticed that when Robin remembered to mine, got another readership, she just had hers update. So I think it's cumulative, not consecutive, just cumulative. I can never say that word. Cumulative. Cumulative. Yeah. I have problems with some words.
English is hard.
I know, right? I know.
Fine. Yeah. Why do we speak English? It's such a weird language. Well, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people who can't say phenomenon and you know, certain words like really existential's another one. Some people have problems. It's just weird that occasionally you'll run it, and I so have sympathy. I'm like, I totally understand. Like, there's just occasional words that just suck for you. That's
yeah. I struggled with anemone for fucking years, and I still can't say clothes quite right.
Right. Well, apparently I can't say Arctic right. Apparently, or Antarctic.
Yes.
That feels so unnatural for me. I got to tell you right now.
That was a whole thing on one of Mark's shows a while back.
Yes. It was a long segment of trying to make me say Arctic properly.
Chester sends another $5. Thank you so much. You guys are really stacking things up today,
Awesome.
and I appreciate the hell out of it. Jester says, last time my father said that, I pointed out that I'm taller now, and I've taken more martial arts classes than he has, and the Embership wasn't about time.
Look, I that's really sad. I'm sorry, Jester. That sucks. Like, your father should never be threatening you, kind of thing. That's awful. That's absolutely awful.
Sadly, very common
Yeah.
here in the US. I
I
had to do
know. I know.
my father was never, I brought you into this world, I could take you out of it, but he, he had his violent moments, usually when he was extremely drunk and bitter about something, like losing his license because he got so many DUIs because he was drunk,
Right.
that
Yeah.
sort of thing. It was a bad period in his life. He's a better human now, but that doesn't
Mhm.
change what happened during my childhood. And as most of you know, I grew up on a farm. So even as a child, I was stronger than average. So when he tried to get violent, I would, deal with it.
Mm.
One story that my mother told me is that at one point he tried to hit her while I was there, and I grabbed his arm and threw him. And we lived in a mobile home trailer, a single wide, the thing's made of cardboard and styrofoam. And I threw him through the front door, and he spent the night out in the bushes in the front yard.
Passed out in the bushes. Yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, my mother's hit or miss with the accuracy of her memories, but it's kind of believable, TBH.
Mm.
So,
Sorry to hear that.
Shoot, I lost track of what I was. Yes, Mark cannot let the Arctic and Antarctic thing go.
No.
It's yes, remember to re-ember. I think I'm gonna go with reignite because it's more on theme, but like I do enjoy the wordplay. We do what we can.
That's how come I know it's always wrong to torture babies to death for one's personal pleasure.
Oh, every single time they have to put the for fun on the end. It's never wrong to torture babies. It's only wrong to do it for one's personal pleasure.
Yes.
Why? Why do you have to add that caveat, that qualifier on the end, Mr. Slick?
Because we have a reason why it's bad to do it in general.
Yeah, we don't need to unnecessarily multiply entities.
Right. We don't have to add that. It's always bad.
We're closer to absolute morality than theist.
Yeah.
Wowzers. And for anybody who isn't a Christian, the reason they do that is because there's a passage in the Bible where it commands the murder of babies. In fact, that comes up in a couple places. There's a psalm about it. Joyful is he who dashes the brains of an infant on the rocks.
Yes.
So, they have to add the personal pleasure. Yeah.
Well, they're trying to find a universal agreed upon moral stance or moral, they call it a moral fact. I would sort of call it a moral stance. And since there are passages in the Bible, like you said, it allows you to torture babies if done in the will of God, basically, that they have to say for fun because everybody would agree on that. But I think that just because something's all agreed by everybody doesn't make it objective. Okay, here's the thing. We could all agree on, ice cream is good or some form of ice cream is good. It doesn't make it objective. Right. Like it doesn't make it objective. Like that's the thing. Objective has to be independent of any stance. Not like just the fact that everybody agrees on it just means there is a commonality between everybody. So I don't know really where he's going with this. We can just say, hey, it's immoral to torture any babies at all for any reason because it gets you away from the well-being of the society. It gets you away from what you want the society to flourish in being. So it's always immoral to torture a baby. Like, what the hell? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, there's caveats even on that too. Like, my first thought was the entire point of civilization is to increase the survival chances of babies. That's the main function. But there's exceptions within theists. Like, Frank Turek might caveat that we need to protect white babies. But what happens to brown babies may be a little, less objective, perhaps.
Ugh, okay.
a whole
Oof.
other conversation for another
Right,
time.
right.
Yeah, we can intersubjectively agree that torturing babies for any reason is wrong. They're not going to give you information on where Osama bin Laden is hiding, so there is no justification ever for torturing babies. But the fact that we can all agree on that, and we can also all agree that sometimes you have to take a life. Where the line is, where it's justified,
Right.
is going to vary from person to person. But
Yes.
pretty much everybody will agree that sometimes
Hmm.
it is justified and, in fact, a moral duty to do so.
Yes.
But where the line is moves, and where
Mhm.
the line between what's a justifiable action and what is an always wrong action, that
Yep.
moves a lot. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
have objective morality, that should not be possible. It's should be a clear cut, these things are good, these things are bad, period. And we don't see
Mhm.
it.
No.
Victoria points out civilization was for the propagation of grass and lawns. That's
That's
rich
a
people stuff, but yes.
happy byproduct, maybe.
All these rich people with lawns and things.
Yeah.
Because God has stated and revealed it is wrong by nature. But you guys, if you're atheists, you cannot say something is wrong ontologically by nature. It can't have an innate value.
Oh, you can.
You can only have an assigned value to it via your presuppositions, your desires, your wants.
I think I can ontologically say that Matt's arguments are wrong. Now, not in a moral sense, although they do tend towards the immoral, but, you know, he's objectively incorrect about
Yeah.
pretty much everything he said, honestly.
Well, I mean, an objective, a moral realist who's an atheist, and yes, you can have them, can just appeal to biological functions and say, hey, that's evolutionarily an immoral biological act because, we're just programmed that way by our evolution up to humans. So they can absolutely explain it. Like that's the thing. Like they can appeal to that. Now, I'm not necessarily agreeing with that. It's just him saying, "Hey, they can't appeal to objective things." Sure, they can. Absolutely, they can. Whether they're right or not is another question. But you're saying they can't appeal to it. Yeah, they can. That's why atheist moral realists exist.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that humans can be wrong about things, which is a central tenet
Yeah.
of Matt's belief system,
Yeah.
it's yeah, we can say anything, really.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
I think T-Jump's got a really weird one. He appeals to some undiscovered moral fabric of the universe that's yet to be discovered. It seems like a parody, to be honest with you, but he just
The
appeals
moral
to
force.
like a moral force out there in the universe, purely naturalistic, just a background moral noise, basically. And it's just sort of like, okay, well, I mean, I don't believe you, but he can appeal to it and says it's objective.
I mean, it very knowing Tom, it very well could be parody stuff, like
Right.
with Justin and Doug the Stone and all that stuff, or nil here. But
Yeah.
it also, could be from a philosophical perspective. I could see a case being for that, like what you experience as your inner conscience, that's like your sight, but for that moral way
Yeah.
function permeating the universe. And some people have better vision than others. Some people have better moral perception than others.
Yeah.
It I don't know if plausible is the right word, but arguable.
Wants. And I'm going to tell you something. This is the preacher in me. Sorry to say this. But what you're going to do is you're going to behave and answer in a manner consistent with what you want already. I would challenge you to think about what it is you want. Is what you want godly, or is what you want self-centered? You want to
That's another false dichotomy that we see a lot of theists perpetuate. Either you're being narcissistic and selfish, or it's all about God. No other options. I mean, yes, some people do have a problem with selfishness. Some cultures have a problem with selfishness. But that doesn't mean those are the only two options. Like,
Correct. Yes.
a lot of what I do is for the betterment of other people's lives because I want other people to be happy. And I very much believe that the better off our society overall is, the better it will be for me by association. Now, you could argue that that's sort of a roundabout way towards selfishness. But the point is, my primary objective is not to benefit myself
Right.
or God. I'm trying to benefit something else. And
Yeah.
that's all you need to show it's a false dichotomy.
Correct. Just any other option.
Please yourself. You want to have your own mind. Wait, you
And if you want to please yourself, go to adamandeve.com and enter code
Adam and Eve,
Brentley.
Our sponsor today. No, I'm joking. We're not sponsored.
No, we're not. It just,
But Brentley is, yeah.
yeah, for anybody who's new, Brentley at the Punk Apostate, he is sponsored by Adam and Eve. And so a few times a show, he'll make an innuendo and use it as a segue into his commercial for Adam and Eve, who sells adult products. And I just find it so funny that I just stick it in the most inappropriate places. I just do his ad.
You know what? I of all the sponsorships you could get, at least they're very honest about what they're selling and what they do. And, you know, I mean, as far as corporate sponsors go, you could do a lot worse. You know, you could be selling loot boxes or, you know, hawking Teslas on the White House lawn or something. You know, like you could be doing way worse than Adam and Eve, to be honest with you, you know.
Oh, for sure. And a portion of their profits do go to support good causes. I forget the causes because they're not a sponsor on my channel, so I didn't pay that much attention. But some of their profits go to good things. I vaguely recall. I'm sure Brentley could tell you more about that. So, you know, that's a plus too. And then there's the whole, is sex really a thing to be shunned? I personally am a more sex positive person. I don't see any shame in adult toys and consensual things and all that fun stuff.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, but I forgot where I was going with that. But those are worthwhile points to make anyway.
Yeah.
You like it?
Oh, right. Brentley and I are running neck and neck. We're within single digits of each other, subscriber-wise, and we're both within 24 of 2K subscribers. So, if you would be so kind as to share this stream and tell your friends to subscribe, please. Now, don't get me wrong. If Brentley gets to 2K first, I will be very happy for him. I like what he does. He has a great show. He's a lot of fun. He's cheered me up on a lot of bad days. But it would be real neat if we could get there first.
Yay! Yeah. Look, I'm all team Ember. Sorry, Brentley. I'm team Ember.
Get what you feel, or you want to be loving and sacrificial like God in the person of Jesus Christ on the cross, who died for our sins, and if you trust in him, you'll be saved from the righteous judgment of a holy God. It's there, and I could tell you stuff. Don't have time. But I want you to think as atheists, is your worldview, is your no-God position capable of explaining the rationality, the logical absolutes, the transcendental qualities of that, the very nature of moral absolutes, and the very existence of the universe? From an atheistic perspective,
I mean, I reject half of those are even a thing.
Yeah, moral absolutes. And you can tell when they're doing badly. Yeah, no, exactly, Wim Sweden. When they get to preaching, I said it earlier, when they get to preaching, they're collapsing. Like you see this all the time. Like they just have not made good arguments and then they start to preach. It's pretty obnoxious.
The water's above.
The water's above, yes. Yes.
But what about the script, the holy scriptures? It is written, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yes, I believe that was the disciple known as Dr. Seuss.
He too was martyred for his faith or something.
Yes, yeah, something.
Holy Holy crap. Yeah, you could say moral absolutes, but that doesn't make it true. That's another claim, a different claim that you then have to
Mhm.
demonstrate, and he hasn't
Yes.
done that. You could
He
say
has not done it.
logical absolutes. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dan already refuted that in his first part, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's as Uncle Bobby would say, he's sitting on some bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
I miss Uncle
It's
Bobby.
begging the question. It's basically putting out there things that he haven't demonstrated and just relying on them to be true to make his arguments. But if he can't demonstrate them as his foundation, then he can't rely on that to make an argument. He just presupposes these are true. That's where the presuppositionalist argument comes from. They presuppose there to be moral absolutes from a moral lawgiver. That's essentially what they presuppose. So what's the justification? There is no justification for it. It's a presupposition. It's an assumption based upon literally nothing that they've done, which is why I have no respect for them.
Yeah, it goes to another fundamental misunderstanding of how reasoning and logic and things work, because they see these other things, these presuppositions that everybody agrees on.
Yeah.
And they just say, oh, you can just declare things and just go from there. But that's not how that works. We do it as a shorthand in order to get to what we actually want to talk about. But if we absolutely had to, we could go back and demonstrate the things that are being presupposed. Like, does gravity always work? I mean, one test isn't going to rule it in or out or whatever, but like we can at least justify the presuppositions. None of them are just declared.
Well, when we sort of agree on them, they become axioms, right? They're sort of axiomatic when everybody agrees on them and they're seen as the baseline. These guys are basically going back to those axioms that we have, like the laws of logic that we sort of agree on in order to describe the world, and the sort of axiomatic idea that morals are, you know, these things that we have, and sort of going, we'll justify literally everything. And it's sort of just it's a dodge. It just is. I can't, and, you know, don't forget, Matt's not out to prove just any God. He said he was going to prove the Christian God this time through, and he has not talked about it once. Like, even if there is a God, how do you get to the Christian God from this? You can't. You just can't. So it's just, you know, going back and going, well, how do you account for logic? Well, it seems to be the way that the universe works. Oh, but you can't tell me where it comes from. That's not necessary. If you agree on logic and I agree on logic, then we can use it to converse. I don't need to, you know, just because you say it's from God doesn't mean that if I don't know why the universe is the way that it is, that suddenly you win because you've got an imaginary friend to appeal to. That's not how anything works.
Yeah, I can make up a reason. You're too honest to just make shit up. So I win.
Yeah.
No. Like as Matt Dillahunty has famously brought up a few times, even if you could demonstrate a miracle, an honest to God intervention by some supernatural force to suspend the laws of physics and accomplish the impossible, that still doesn't prove there's a God behind it. You have to demonstrate that connection, and then you have to demonstrate which God. You can't just say there was a God, therefore it's my God. Yeah, you just show it's yours.
Yeah.
This shit's frustrating. It's fun, but it's frustrating.
Yeah, it just all falls apart when you go, well, I reject your presupposition that these things come from a God. You've got to demonstrate that. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's it.
It's fundamentally, it's just skepticism. It's, I'm not convinced. Show me.
Yep.
Spell it out. Tell it to me like I'm 5 years old. Why is the sky blue? Because it's made of fish. Show me the fish.
Obviously.
The NASA, that'll be the new flat Earth. Now that the final experiment has debunked flat Earth, it'll be birds are fake, which we already know, and fish are in the sky. And NASA exists to hide that truth from you. so you don't try to overfish the waters above like we have with the waters below.
Yeah,
or something.
There are only a limited number of
I mean,
Skype
we've all
shenanigans.
heard about it raining frogs, so we know
Yeah.
there's watery beings up in the sky. We have evidence. Can build a whole freaking. We can do this. We can argue this. I'm sure James at Modern Day Debate would platform it.
Oh, I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. He'd platform anything if it's going to get views, you know, which is.
Imagine my 2-year hiatus. I returned to Modern Day Debate to argue raining frogs means there's fish in the sky.
Right. And then after that, we'll do, you know, spontaneous combustion as well. You know, like, why not? Why not?
I mean, it honestly, people who watch that, even just for the silliness, would still end up learning more than they do from most of the debates that happen over there. But,
that's true. Yeah.
you know, details. Oh, let's try to finish this rebuttal.
Okay. Wow.
And you do that? No, none of them. Now we'll see if you can, but none. Maybe we'll have a little dialogue on this later on. But I love talking to atheists about this stuff. Come on in, gotcha. Right? I have atheists say, how am I talking to you, man? A lot of people don't. Christians don't either.
So this is how you tell that someone's doing really badly, if they have to start talking about how amazing they are. You know, like, it's just, you know, present your argument. Why are you sitting here using this you know, sort of sophistry and bragging and stuff? Like, if you have to beat your chest during a debate, you're probably doing very badly.
I mean, the fact you have a limited amount of time in order to make points rebutting what your opponent said, and you're wasting that time talking about how wonderful you are, it's kind of it's the next cousin to the ad hominem. You know, ad hominems are when you attack the person instead of their argument because you have nothing to offer against their argument. This is one step further from that, but it's in the same category. Matt still has nothing to say about Dan's argument.
And it's kind of, I would probably put it in the poisoning the well kind of thing, saying, hey, he's an atheist and I own atheists all the time. He's trying to say, hey, atheist arguments are weak and I can own them all the time. So that's what's happening here. Please believe me, even though I'm not actually rebutting the things that he's saying.
In a way, there's a hypothesis. Maybe it's even gone past hypothesis since I learned about it. It's this psychological phenomena where people attach to personalities. And when you watch a debate, and we can see this in real time on a lot of debates, it's not true for all viewers, but it's true for a lot of viewers, you know, Mark will argue one case and Jim Bob will argue another case. And then people will decide based on whether they like Mark or Jim Bob, not based on the argument. Fuck. Humans are bad at rationality.
Well, it doesn't happen for everybody like that. You know, some people do listen to the arguments, and we know they do because I've watched debate and listened to the arguments and been swayed by it kind of thing, you know, and gone, okay, that's a really good point. So I think that there's a mix out there of people, but yeah, definitely there are people that do not listen to the arguments and just listen to how someone's behaving on the stage. Sure.
Yeah, but what he may not be intentionally doing it, but sort of like as a passive effect, by trying to build himself up, he's trying to sway people to his position based on him being the one who's offering the position rather than the strength of the position itself.
Right. Yeah.
And also Dan is a poopy head and I'm Captain America. God told me, so it's a true presupposition. Presuppository presupposition.
Presuppository presupposition. Nice.
That's sort of like how every meal is pre-poop. But that's a shitty joke. Left-handed Jedi says, I'm an atheist and I'm okay. I laugh all night and debate all day. I'm not sure what music you were going for that, but I tried to sing it. It's fine.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely the Monty Python, lumberjack song. I would call that one too. I would call that one too.
Did I make them think? Well, I hope I'm making you think some. Thanks.
Wow, that was a whole load of nothing. That was a whole load of fucking nothing.
I mean, we did have a lot to say about it, though.
Like, basically, all it was just based on my assumptions and presuppositions, Dan Barker is wrong. That's it.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything that actually supported his case or even that solidly refuted any of Dan's points.
Right.
So I did it. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Oh my. Well, we're just past 2.5 hours. Do you want to try to tackle Dan's rebuttal or save that for our next installment?
We can do another installment if you want. It will be a little bit though. It will be a couple of weeks. That took us so long to get past his rebuttal. Holy crap!
We had a lot to say.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We can do another episode and stretch this one out. This is actually, I do want to do more on, the presuppositionalists at the moment. So just why they're they can be discounted, basically. So I'm actually enjoying this a lot. I wouldn't mind doing another episode on it. That would be great.
Hell yeah. All right, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it too, and I think it would be neat, and it'd kind of.
There's something about Matt Slick. There's something about this guy, because I haven't really seen him before, but there's something about him. He's got this weird energy that it kind of is outraged anybody would believe any differently. Like he's just outraged that people go, yeah, I don't think you're right. And
how dare you?
How dare you question that I'm wrong? That's the energy that I'm getting, but I don't know whether that's an act or whether he actually takes himself that seriously that if someone goes, I don't believe in a God, he goes, oh, but I've talked to 10 million atheists and they've never given me this thing that I've asked for. And it's just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, what? And then beat his chest saying, oh, I love it when atheists call because I get to. It's like, dude, that's, okay. If you're doing a show or something, I could understand that. But this is a debate. Like, do you really have to? Weird. And this is kind of the misplaced arrogance you'll find in pre-suppers. It's almost like, but to me, it just looks like they're insecure and trying to compensate for it, right? It's that inversion that we get. When someone is insecure, they will stamp around and beat their chest and, sort of try to make themselves a bigger person because they are insecure. Someone that's totally secure in their arguments doesn't need to do that. They will just go, hey, this is the arguments. You haven't addressed it because of these reasons. And hey, you haven't addressed it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I've often said before, like there's that Game of Thrones episode, right? And it is fiction, sure, but it is true that when Joffrey goes, listen to me, I am the king, and then who was it? The Lannister patriarch, what's his name? Tywin turns around and says, a true king never has to tell people that they're king.
Oh,
and it's like, yeah, exactly.
I was thinking with the chest beating, a lion never has to say he's a lion.
Right. But the true king never has to tell anybody that they're king. They just know. And I think the same is true for somebody with a really good, compelling debate. Never has to say, hey, I got the best arguments. I crushed you. You know, anybody that's saying that in a debate is going very badly indeed, because they, you know, I crushed you, you got destroyed today. Who are you trying to convince? Yourself, the audience, the other person? It's so fascinating to me. And we always hear it from the people like Nadir, for instance. If you've ever seen Nadir, wow, he is shockingly bad, like shockingly so. And he says it all the time, and then goes into the comments and tells people how he succeeded and why the opponent got crushed. And it's like, dude, like, wow.
Yeah. Just declaring things, making up your own reality. It's
Yep.
sort of the theist way, I suppose. It's how one gets
Yeah.
to be a theist. Something like that. I don't know.
Maybe that it is wishful thinking. Yeah, we didn't see any of Dan, so I couldn't say what he was all about. But that was awful. That was absolutely awful. Especially, the problem of evil is solved because I held my baby when they died. How does that solve the problem of evil?
Yeah, that it kind of, I don't know. It's weird to me because like that kind of indicates there's a bigger problem than you might be allowing for. Like why did this awful thing happen? If there's a all-powerful benevolent God on watch, how did it even fucking happen?
Right. And not only that, but you're serving them in the way they want to be served. That's your claim, that you are doing work on behalf of this God, right? And that's why the story of Job is in the Bible. It's kind of, well, why is it that people who are doing exactly what God wants get bad crap happening to them? Oh, it's a test by God. Really? You think it's a test by God that your baby died in your arms? That's fucked up. I'm sorry, that's screwed up. You know, and if it's not, if some reason you go, oh, but he's in heaven and it was the best thing for him, then it's a good thing that it happened, and just say it's a good thing that happened. But you don't believe that, because of course it isn't. Of course it's horrendous. But it doesn't solve the problem of evil. If God is all good, then why is he doing this to you? Oh, I didn't get mad at God and say there is no God. Yeah, okay, but it doesn't answer the question of why he's doing it to you.
It's such cope. Like, I don't know. It's to me, it's the opposite of a compelling argument. It's saying my position is so untenable that I'm going to throw out something that is weak and not even pretend that it's strong. I'm just going to put this out here and distract you with the emotionality of it.
Well, I've noticed this from pre-suppers. They seem to replace good evidence and reasoning with conviction. Right? Like, so, you know, like this horrible thing happened to me and I didn't falter in my conviction. That's why you should believe it, because I'm 100,000% convinced. And this atheist is saying, yeah, it's more likely to be that the universe is this way. Well, hold on a second. That's got no impact on what's true and what's not. Like how strongly you believe it. Like, okay, and there's a Muslim out there who might be 1,000 times more convinced than you. In fact, he believes it with every single fiber of his being and has never had a doubt before in his life. That means that suddenly your religion isn't true, his is true. Like, belief has nothing to do with what the truth of the matter is. That's independent from how hard we believe it. So him sort of saying, hey, this horrible thing happened and I didn't falter in my belief. So what?
Yeah.
That's not an argument.
It makes me think of the I did this thing so anyone can things like, I changed
Sure.
my diet and lost 140 plus pounds. So
Mhm.
anyone can do that just by,
Right,
paying
right.
attention to your cal. No, not everyone can do that. Some people can do better. Some people, it won't affect them at all. It's
Right.
a combination of factors, and they're all unique to every individual, depending on your circumstances and metabolism and general stress level and all sorts of things. So it's a bullshit argument every time it comes up. And that's just one aspect of what was wrong with what
Mm.
Matt said in just that one specific example, which was a
But it's worse
horrible
than that.
example.
It's worse than that, Emma, because at least we have a correlation that diet does affect your weight. The correlation of belief equals truth is actually the opposite way, because Matt basically knows that everybody that disagrees with him, knows that they believe differently and they're wrong.
Yeah. The ultimate irony, I suppose, is the arrogance of saying, I know not only am I right, but everyone else, the atheists, the Hindus, the Muslims, they're all wrong because I'm infallible or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a time. It's a thing. Such is life. But thank you guys so much for joining. I know we spent a lot of time on Matt, but we did have a lot to say. We do have a break for a couple of weeks, as we've mentioned a couple of times.
Yep.
But the next
Yep.
one will be on Mark's channel. We'll start with Dan's rebuttal, and that'll probably go a whole lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're just, and somebody pointed out, I think it may have been, I do apologize, I get the wrong person. It may have been Jedi, it may have been Jester, but they sort of said he's gish galloping, and that's 100% what he's doing. I do agree with that, yes. And I thought that was a very, I don't know why I didn't point it out at the time. Yeah, he is just throwing things out scattershot so that, Dan may not be able to address all of them. That's what he's doing. That's essentially what he's doing.
Yep, and that's always a fun tactic too. Just make so many points, and then when they're not all addressed, be like, "Oh, well, you didn't even address these points, so I win," because that's how that works. An unopposed argument is automatically correct or something.
But don't forget, with presuppositionalists, all you have to do is I reject your presupposition. What now? That's it. That's all you got to do.
Goodness. Okay, just doing a little light house cleaning in the background here.
Yeah.
I see it's already been tended to, but I didn't know until I went through and actually looked. So yeah. Before we go, what do you have coming up aside from the raging tomato debate that you mentioned?
Yes. So next week I have a debate on the Raging Tomato against Wi-Fi Gospel, which should be fun because he is. I mean, last time I was on like a 2v2 with him, he did not do well. I'll put it that way. So that should be a lot of fun, and I really will enjoy that. Because that's secular humanism versus Christianity, which I think is a topic which I love doing. It gets really fun. So, and plus I get to talk about secular humanism, which I really do enjoy that sort of philosophy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's coming up. On Tuesday nights Eastern time, I have Aimbot, Am I Morally Bankrupt or Them, where I apply a secular humanist worldview to Am I the Arsehole on Reddit, and see if we can make some moral judgments based upon human well-being and what's best for humans. And it's a really good time. A lot of people chatting in the chat about what they think is right and wrong and why, because the why is the important part. And on Thursday night Eastern time, I have Fundamentalist Fails, which is sort of going through usually fundamentalist or always religious video, and seeing where their logic breaks down and fails, which is always hilarious. Last time we had on, I had a video by what was the dude's name? It was like a Wish version of Kyle Butt. I can't remember his name.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
The British dude.
Eric Lyons. No, he's Southern.
Oh, okay.
He's got exactly the same accent as Kyle Butt. That's the weird thing. It's very trippy. And sort of he was going on about how like Jesus wasn't predicting the end of the world. Thanks, Wim Sweden. That's awesome. He wasn't predicting the end of the world when he said that, you know, all of these things will come to pass before your generation dies, basically. It was wild. It was so wacky the way that he was going, oh, well, this is about the destruction of the second temple. And it's talking about Jesus coming and the trumpets and the angels and the prophecy of the end of days. And, you know, he's saying, oh, but the middle section of it, the end is that end of days, but the middle section is about the second temple falling in Rome. And it's like, what? Like, the disciples ask him, when will you be coming? When will these things happen? And he talks about something actually completely irrelevant for the entire time. And then at the end, with no noticeable difference in the passages, he transitions into it's wild. It is. I called it like an Olympic level mental gymnastics. It was incredible. Look, Deviant, never apologize for getting cinnamon buns. I refuse to accept your apology, as there is nothing to apologize for. How dare you?
It's true. Cinnamon buns are still a little bit sweet for me, even though I can finally have sweet things again now that, you know, my teeth situation is vastly improved.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they're one of the objectively valid reasons for the existence of the fucking universe.
Yeah.
Right up there with, you know, Carl Sagan posited the apple pie. If you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you first have to create the universe. If you want cinnamon buns, you need a universe.
Yeah. And don't forget to brush your teeth and definitely floss, because that's important. And I, you know, I think that's underrated.
Those luxury bones are fucking expensive. So, you know, save yourself some cash. Luxury bones.
Oh, right. Yeah, gotcha.
Even though they're not technically bones, but details.
Well, they're working on seeing if they can get humans to regrow teeth, kind of thing, by activating some gene, which was fascinating. You know, it's like, wow, okay. But the problem is, the guy's like, well, the problem is that it can't just be like one tooth. We'd have to activate the gene and you'd regrow all your teeth that would push the others out. And it's like, oh, that sounds horrific. That sounds actually horrific. So, yeah.
I mean, for certain, like if it's bad enough, you really could just pull all your teeth, because like the healthy ones tend to come out in a single piece, you know, so it's not that bad when you pull them. It just I don't know. It would take something pretty severe though, but you know. Yes, you could become a shark, constantly cycling your teeth. Oh yeah, having to go through teething as an adult.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
That would suck. Yeah, that would suck.
I need a chew toy.
And if you needed braces, like your teeth would probably grow in crooked because your mouth is a different shape and stuff. So you'd probably need to like, could you imagine being 40 something with braces? You know, like it's just, okay, sure. Why not? Why not?
Pluses and minuses, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's not. There are advantages to having it be your actual anchored teeth. I very much know. I went through a period adjusting to the prosthetic here where I couldn't even bite through a pickle, and it's still not exactly easy. So yeah, there are pluses to having your own actual teeth.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can take this out and brush the whole thing. I don't have to fight around my cheeks and shit.
Yeah, that's an upside. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, pluses and minuses to everything. Such is life.
Such is
Oh.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. Right. Things coming up. So tomorrow, join me for Fascism in the Bible, and then we'll magically over to Bad Science Sunday, which should be, I don't even know what the subject is, but I am sure it will be fun, because anytime you get that Weasel
Yeah.
and I in a room together, you know the science is going to get weird. And
Damn right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to try to find where did I put that whiteboard?
I count on it, Ems. I
Yeah.
count on it. Yeah.
And then Thursday, if I have time, because everything is horrible and on fire at the moment, but traditionally, Transpositions Weekly, I do the good news segment, and sometimes I even join the live panel if work isn't sending me to hell, and sometimes Skeptic Haven and such. Next weekend, next weekend, Mark has the debate.
Yep.
Depending on time, we may do something over here. The
Sure.
week after that, generally same idea, but that weekend I have NocoCon. Most of the week I'm going to be preparing for NocoCon, but I'm going to try to do a member stream at some point in that week. Again, no promises, but it's a goal. And as always, you never know. I may go live randomly with no warning. It happens less often than it used to. 5 jobs, life in chaos, such as life. Life is lifey, but it does still happen from time to time. So keep a weather eye. And
Ring
as
the
always,
alert bell, because it does help.
Yes.
You know, it does definitely help.
yes,
It's not foolproof, I will admit, but it does help. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Mm.
Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate you folks. You make us laugh. You make us feel good. You raise points that we'd never thought of.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing about doing YouTube is interacting with you folks. And I appreciate you being here for it. And as always, remember, you don't have to presuppose that demonstrably horrible things are somehow morally objectively good, because you are better than religion. Good night.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt.